Okay, so once again, I was saying that the purpose of graduate education, especially in the doctorate program, is for you to come up with a publishable research paper. And I know for some of you, especially Mr. Christopher Santiago, he is not new to publication. He's very much exposed already to publications. So siguro, I'm very delighted, no? Pumapalakpak ang aking tenga at masaya-masaya ang aking puso na yung mga kahit nasa ibang school na ilumilipat pa dito sa klase natin, sa Davsu natin. So I am overwhelmed with your support and trust na kahit doon ay marami na kayong units na nakuha sa kabilang eskwelahan, ay lumipat pa rin kayo dito. Maraming salamat po and I appreciate that very much. And of course, we will ensure that this is going to be a true graduate education and a true doctorate program would not mind talking about um, technical topics that are written in the books. Tapos na tayo dun. Inaral na natin yun na tayo ay nasa bachelor's degree and master's degree. What we are going to do now is for your skills to fully develop in terms of research. Kaya nga, ang pag-uusapan ninyo sa group page ninyo is whether you would like to come up with one publishable research paper or by group publishable research paper. Can I get the suggestion of the group? Ano ba ang gusto nyo? By group or individual IMRAD output?
Din siguro po, magpo-poll muna po kami para po malaman kung...
Sige, all right. So I'd like to know the result of that poll, no? Sige. Akala ko magpo-pole dancing muna kayo para malaman niyo. Sige. Meron naman kayong sari-sariling FB group. Doon ko na lang titingnan ko ang result ng poll. Pero whatever the result will be, I will respect and accept that. Basta ang mahalaga, matuto kayo na gumawa ng inyong research for publication. That was the instruction to me by Dr. Dolores Tiambao, the Dean of the Graduate School. Because as I was mentioning, there is a CMO or CHED memorandum order that there will come a time that you will be required to publish a research paper before you graduate. So ang ayoko, yung magkakram kayo kung kailan gagraduate na, saka pa lang kayo maghahadali na mag-publish ng research paper. Saka pa lang magmamadali na gumawa ng paper for publication. Ang gusto ko, as early as today, unti-untiin na natin, gagawin na natin yung inyong individual research paper for publication. Pero kung ayaw nyo naman masyadong mabigla, pwede namang by group. Let's say group of 4 or 5. Tapos kung gusto niyo per group, kasama ko, pwede akong isa sa mga co-authors. Ang role ko doon is checker kung tama yung inyong IMRAD format. Pwede naman akong co-author ng lahat ng paper ninyo. And then later on, we will look for a reputable journal where your paper can be published. Okay po ba yun? All right. So let me begin my discussion this morning by highlighting the importance of publication. Since kanina pa tayo nag-uusap tungkol sa publication, because publication is a form of dissemination. The reason why we would like to disseminate the findings of our study, not just to make yabang, no, but to make known to the group of scholars also that we were able to find out something. in the findings can be utilized by future researchers. We would like the scholars or the researchers to know that we contributed to the body of knowledge. And the easiest way for you to know whether a person or whether a researcher is producing a research is by visiting the scholargoogle.com or Google Scholar. Type nyo lang yung pangalan niya doon. Kung may lumabas, di ibig sabihin meron siyang publication. There are two ways in which the findings of the study can be utilized. If the findings of your study are somewhat aligned with policy formulation or policy re-engineering, then that can be utilized in policy review. Example, if your study is about the impact of, let's say, new normal leadership on teachers' performance, and you found out, for example, that this new normal leadership, pag sinabing new normal leadership style, this is non-traditional. Ibig sabihin, ang leadership mo, parang pro-online classes ka. Kung principal ka, you realign your MOOE, alam ng mga principal to, yung mga taga-DepEd, MOOE, nire-realign mo yung budget mo patungo doon sa purchasing of technological infrastructure instead of physical infrastructure. Ibig sabihin, hindi ka magpapagawa ng mga buildings, hindi ka magpapa-repaint, hindi ka magpapa-repair ng mga facilities. Your budget will be realigned towards acquisition of technology improvement. That's what I call new normal leadership style. And actually, sinasabi kong new normal leadership style, I do not know kung meron na niyan sa literature, but I was trying to develop that, and hopefully in the future, gusto ko maging proponent ng leadership style na yan, ng new normal leadership style. Because this new normal leadership style is somewhat flexible. Hindi somewhat, is actually flexible in nature. Ibig sabihin, if you are a new normal leadership style, you adapt immediately to the current situation. Hindi yung alam mo na nga na walang face-to-face, pinipilit mo pa rin na magkaroon ng face-to-face traditional method of instruction. Na alam mo na nga na bawal ang face-to-face, ay hindi ka pa rin gumagawa ng mga modules that would include flexibility and utilization of technology. Parang ganun ang idea ko ng new normal leadership style. So that's my plan in the future. Malay nyo, maabutan ng mga anak ninyo na ay isa sa mga nag-propose pala ng new normal leadership style is Nuki. Baka hindi pa ngayon, syempre, i-develop pa natin yung theory na yan. So parang ganun. But if you found out, for example, that this new normal leadership style is effective in improving the performance of both students and teachers, then you can utilize that by applying now as a leader, kasi mga leaders na kayo, no? As a leader in your own institution. That you will be flexible pala, that you will be utilizing technology pala in your educational implementation or educational services. Parang ganon. So that is a form of utilization. Another form of utilization is that if you publish your research paper in internationally reviewed journal, then for sure, future researchers will be able to browse, will be able to come across your findings, and there's a big possibility that your findings will be utilized in the form of citation. So ibig sabihin, hindi lang nagamit yung iyong findings sa policy reformulation, nagamit din siya ng mga future researchers sa kanilang paper. Kung before ikaw ay publisher, this time, ano ka na, sinasite ka na nila. Example, according to Francisco in 2019, parang ganon, he found out that, ganun na yung ano ngayon, yung citation, gagamitin na ngayon yung findings ng study ninyo. Yun ang maganda sa publication. So, that is why, para dun sa mga EDD students na hindi pa man din research, ay research na kagad ang tinuturo ko. Because I would like you, as early as this first sem, by the way, i-remind ko lang yung grupo, may mixture kayo ngayon ha, mix ng advanced quantitative research design and mixture ng mga nag-uumpisa pa lang ng mga major subjects sa DABSU. Because I would like them, as early as today, to be research-oriented and capable so that when I require you to write research, you will know, no, how to write research for publication. Because publication in an internationally peer-reviewed journal is now the demands of IR 4.0. Matagal ko na itong sinasabi, itong IR 4.0. Kaya nga yung mga hindi nakakaintindi ng IR 4.0, nai-insecure sa akin eh. Kasi I can very well explain the meaning and the application of IR 4.0. Siyempre, kung mayroong 4.0, nag-umpisa yan sa 1.0. So anong difference? Yung 1.0, ito yung traditional mode of instruction. Ito yung gumagamit ng chalk and board, ito yung gumagamit ng Manila paper, kartolina ng mga unang panahon, and ang akala ng mga teachers na sila lang ang may pagmamayari ng knowledge. Yun ang IR 4.0. And ang usapan noon, mga teaching strategies inside the classroom, the pedagogy, no? Pero ngayon, iba ang 4.0. We treat the students as our co-learners. When I say co-learners, me as your mentor in research, I do not know everything. Kasi posible na mas marami kayong alam kaysa sa akin merong kung gagamit kayo ng technology. Students nowadays are like us, millennials. Nasaan ba tayo? Millennial ba tayo? Generation Z? Parang Generation Z yata tayo.
Millennial po.
Millennial. Akala ko Generation Z. Feeling bata. Because this millennial, we, or the Generation Z, these are technologically oriented. And for all you know, mas magaling pa to sa ating mas magaling pa to sa atin sa technology. And for all you know, yung mga teachers dito, ay yung mga principals, habang nag-online class, for example, yung mga estudyante, yung teachers, saka mga estudyante ninyo, baka mamaya pinagtatawanan yung teacher. Bakit? Sa sinasabi ng estudyante na mali ang sinasabi ng teacher. Bakit? Kasi posible na naka-online siya habang nakaharap siya sa Google Meet or G Suite. Kaharap niya rin yung phone niya na may internet, tas nag-google. Tinatype kung tama yung sinasabi ng teacher niya. So see, kasi everything now can be found in Google because we are in the Google world. Kapag nasa Google world tayo, kapag nasa cyberspace tayo, kapag everything can be found online, that is what you call IR 4.0. Yun po ang ibig sabihin po ng IR 4.0. Kaya nga yung mga nabubuhay sa IR 1.0, yun yung mga traditional pa rin po. Yung mga nabubuhay sa IR 2 and 3.0, traditional pa rin po yun. Because we are now in IR 4.0. And actually, the Philippines is still left behind. Baka akala natin itong IR 4.0 ay bago. Actually, luma na to. Papunta na nga ang buong mundo sa IR 5.0 or Industrial Revolution 5.0. Kung nanonood kayo ng mga sci-fi movies, yung mga sasakyan na pag upo mo, hindi mo kailangan marunong ka mag-drive. Ang gagawin mo lang, you will give an instruction to your car na pupunta ka sa ganitong address, i-input mo lang yung address, tapos the car will drive himself papunta sa address na nilagay mo. So kung dati nag-waze ka pa at ikaw ang nagda-drive, ngayon hindi na. The car will have its own ways and will drive for himself. IR 5.0 na po yun. Ang alam ko, Japan nag-uumpisa ng mag-develop ng ganong klaseng technology. When I was in Japan also, I visited Japan twice or thrice. Meron silang tinatawag na hagdal, no? Hugging doll. Yung hugging doll na yon ay papalit sa teacher. Yun ang nakakatakot in the future. Papalitan niya na yung teacher. Bakit? Yung hugging doll na yon, habang nakahug yung estudyante sa doll, ay nagsasalita siya. Bakit nakahug? Kasi ang principle ng teaching, dapat may personal touch daw. So pag hinag nung estudyante yung doll, tapos maririnig niya na yung doll nagsasalita at nagbibigay na ng lecture. So two in one, no? Meron na siyang physical and warmth interaction at the same time meron pang learning na nakukuha. There was an experiment conducted in Japan. I do not know kung kasama ko dito si Samuel. Sem, ikaw ba yung kasama ko dito? Yung in-invite mo ko sa Japan? Sem?
Opo, sir. Opo,
Ito,
sir.
ito yun yung nakita natin.
Yes po. Yes po.
There was a research by the way, Samuel is in Japan and we were there at IA4 International, basta IA4, nakalimutan ko yung IA4.
International Academic Forum.
Yan, International Academic Forum. And we attended a research conference. We were paper presenters that time. Co-author ko si Samuel. And then so we listened to the many research presentations. There was an experiment conducted na yung isang experiment, yung teacher ay nagtuturo sa mga estudyante. After some time, mga 10 to 15 minutes, yung mga estudyante distracted na roaming around the classroom. Samantalang isang experiment, yung mga estudyante binigyan ng hugging doll and then ayun, napatahimik lahat ng estudyante and listening to the voice of the doll. Pero yung sinasabi ng doll related doon sa lecture nila or topic nila. Siguro ang topic nila is storytelling. So instead na yung teacher ang nag-storytell, yung hugging doll ay nandoon. Galing, no? Sem, no? Na witness natin yon.
Yes po, sir.
Experiment. So that's it. What I'm sharing to you is not the local. This is actually global. And time will come, the demands will be Industrial Revolution 5.0 already. So why am I telling you this? Everything that is happening in education is a product of research, science, and technology. Kaya imposible po na tayo ay makaka-develop ng kahit na ano nang wala tayong research. Huwag na tayo lumayo, hindi naman tayo mga IT or hindi naman tayo mga scientist or microbiologist na kayang gumawa ng COVID vaccine. Wag na 'yon. Ang pag-usapan na lang natin is tungkol sa education. The main idea is that whenever we make decisions in education, it should be research-based. There should be an evidence-based research before we implement something. Kaya nga ako maraming naiinis sa akin sa pool of administration kapag tinatanong ko sila, pag may policing binuo, pag tinanong ko saan galing. Ang lagi kong tanong, yan ba ay pinag-aralan muna bago ginawa? Yung policy ba na yan ay merong pinanggalingan? Kasi kapag wala, pangit, hindi maganda, or non-scientific, sorry for the term, medyo bobo, kapag yung mga ini-implement natin ay hindi galing sa research. Pardon me for some words, but that is the reality. No? So that is why I am here para sa inyo. Ilan ba kayo nandito? 43 doctorate students. I am hoping and praying that I could change the way you lead your respective schools or institutions. Kasi karamihan sa inyo rito mga administrators na. It should always be research-based. Kaya nga, ang educational management should also be research-based management, evidence-based management, hindi chismis-based management. Yan ang pinakaayaw natin sa research, yung chismis ang pag-uusapan natin. We do not talk about gossips here. We always talk about evidence-based or we are rational people. Pag sinabing rational people, tayo yung mga tao na nag-iisip muna, we are critical in nature, and we do not believe on hearsay. We do not believe on rumors. What we believe on is, what we believe in is always based on research. That is why we should always read research publications. Kasi yung mga research publications, yan ang may totoong mga impormasyon na ibibigay sa inyo. Kaya ang gagawin natin sa ADD program natin, wala tayong gagawin, ituturo ko sa inyo yung methodology, and then kayo yung sa pagbabasa. Sabi nga na Ernie Baron, namatay lang, reading is or will make you, reading is power. Reading will make you powerful. Kasi the more you read, the more you will become knowledgeable, and the more you will become powerful. But on the other hand, on the contrary, the more you read and the more you learn, the more you discover that you still need to learn more. Naniniwala ba kayo doon? Kaya kailangan natin talagang magbasa. And that's one of the basic requirements in research. Reading. Reading and reading and reading. Kaya kung sabi ko nga, kung sa masteral, 50 articles pwede na. Sa doctoral, at least 100. Pero sige, for the purpose of requirement, kahit kung mapagdesisyonan yung individual lang IMRAD output ninyo, 50 papayag na ako. Pero kung mapagdesisyonan yung by group, 100 kasi you will be working by group naman na magbabasa ng articles, no? So I will be reviewing now, of course, for those who were my students before, the research process, no? Re-review natin to kasi importante ito matatak sa utak ninyo na meron tinatawag na research process. Because research is a scientific method or scientific process in solving a problem. And when you say scientific, it will involve step-by-step procedure. Meaning to say that you will not jump into conclusion without analyzing first the situation. You will not jump to step number 10 without passing through steps 1 to 9. Kaya nga siya scientific. Di ba sabi natin sa pag gumagawa tayo ng mga experimentation, when we were taking up science before in the laboratory, Di ba merong step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4. And then later on, we will come up with a generalization that is acceptable. Di ba? So alam ko, na-discuss ko na to, but I just would like to refresh you that for your research paper to be scientific in nature, it has to follow the 5 phases of the research process. The first one is conceptualization phase. As the term implies, this is the phase where you conceptualize your research paper by identifying a topic, reviewing the literature, developing hypotheses, framework, and objective formulation. When you do those 5 steps, then you are conceptualizing a research paper. After conceptualization, you proceed now to design phase. This is the phase where you plan your research design, where you identify your population. Either you're going to use probability or non-probability sampling design. This is the time also that you decide whether you're going to develop your own instrument or you will just be adapting a readily available, reliable, and valid instrument. Kasi kung meron ng available na reliable and valid instrument, then all you have to do is just to write a letter to the owner or to the author that you are going to use the instrument. Parang you will just ask permission from the original author. But if you opted to develop your own instrument, wala namang problema doon. However, you need to undergo the tedious process in subjecting your instrument for validity and reliability procedures. Another thing also that when you plan your research is the ethical consideration and data privacy. No? This is a very serious topic because there is a Data Privacy Act that was launched in 2012 by the National Privacy Commission. And later pala, I invited one speaker who will share about ethical conduct in research. And then, ibaback up ko rin siya. Magkakaroon din ako ng konting discussion about ethical considerations. Because for a research to be acceptable, valid, and reliable, it must also be ethical in nature. This is the stage also in the design phase where you identify the correct statistical tool that you will employ and that will answer all the problems that you stated in your conceptualization phase. Meaning to say, either you're going to discuss either descriptive or inferential statistics. That is important. So, parang pagtapos mo na yung conceptualization phase saka design phase, sa IMRAD format, this is introduction and methodology. Tapos ka na dyan. Sa DAVSU, parang tapos ka na ng chapters 1 and 2. Kasi ang format ng DAVSU ay chapters 1 to 4. No? So tapos ka na ng proposal. If your proposal is approved, then that's the time that you're going to proceed to empirical phase or data gathering collection. By the way, part of my requirement in our class is a mini proposal. Meaning to say that you are going to orally defend your proposed mini paper or research paper for our class. We will schedule that once you finalize whether you would like to have it by group or individually. Kasi ang gusto ko before kayo mag-data gathering this semester ay makita ko muna yung proposal ninyo. And take note, ang proposal will follow the IMRAD format. So meaning to say, the proposal will only include introduction and methodology. Pag na-approve yun, saka kayo mag-i-implement, then that's the time that you will proceed to results, and discussion. Ganun lang yun. And hindi pa kapalan ang IMRAD. Mga 10 to 15 pages lang. It's about the substance. It's about the quality of the contents of the paper. It's not about the number of pages. No? And my goal for this semester is makapag-publish tayo ng research paper. 2-in-1 na. Requirement nyo sa klase ko, at the same time, magagamit nyo kung kayo ay nagpapa-rank, nagpapa-re-rank, or nag-a-apply man kung ano mang ina-apply ninyo. Kasi publication is one of the important requirements for ranking nowadays. So once you are done with your empirical phase or data gathering collection, you proceed to analytical phase. Dito na yung results and discussion. Because you're going to do a data analysis and interpretation and conclusion. And it is always recommended that when you conclude, the conclusion is based on data. You do not conclude that are not data-based. That is not data-based. Or else, if you make conclusions that do not have any basis, ang tawag dyan ay chismis. Ayaw po natin ng chismis. And katulad ng pinag-uusapan natin kanina pa, hinighlight ko, that we need to disseminate the findings of the study. Because we would like other researchers to read the findings of the study so that if they found out that the findings of our study are relevant to their current findings, they will utilize the findings of the study through step number 2. When they review the literature in the future, you will be cited. Yun ang maganda doon kapag nag-publish kayo. So by the way, next meeting, ano ba next meeting? October 24, I invited, since Dr. Reynaldo Cruz is one of the professors of the other EDD group. By the way, all of you here are EDD group. Minerge ko lang ngayon kasi isa lang naman yung topic. But I invited Dr. Ray. The two of us will discuss next week how to write IMRAD format. Next meeting yon. How to write IMRAD format next meeting. So that when I require you to write a research paper, you will utilize IMRAD format. Hindi yung chapters 1 to 5 na pagkakapal-kapal. IMRAD po yung gagamitin natin. Alright? So, any questions so far with regards to the research process? Any clarifications? Maliwanag naman, ano? Para doon naman sa EDD program na malapit nang matapos, kasi meron dito yung mga EDD na nasa nasa quantitative research designs. Ito na yung pinaka-review ninyo. Kasi ako yung nagbibigay ng question sa compre. Siyempre, kung ano yung diniscuss ko, yun ang itatanong ko sa compre. Ganun sa DABSO. Kung sino yung naging teacher ninyo sa subject, siya yung magbibigay ng compre question. So, advance info, possible na lumabas itong question na to sa inyong comprehensive examination. So, meaning, we will review again how to identify a topic so that when Dr. Ray discusses next week the IMRAD format, you know now what topic is going to be included in your paper. Of course, I will always say that when you write a research paper, you should be knowledgeable about the topic that you are working on. So if you are in the field of educational management, sana po wala akong makikitang topic about English, about mathematics, about early childhood education, about science, about religious studies, etc., etc. Your topic should revolve around educational management. Dapat pang educational management siya. Okay, ganun lang kasimple ang pag-identify ng topic. And actually, yung iba, nag-submit na ng assignment. By the way, ito yung curriculum ng DAVSU. I hope lahat ay merong copy. When you identify a topic, I will always remind you to collect your course outline. Course outline. Kung walang course outline, silabay. Yung mga estudyante ko, yung mga bago kong estudyante, doon sa 3 subject, bibigyan ko kayo ng course outline. Pero doon sa mga old students na ng DABSU, meron na kayong course outline panigurado. Doon kayo mamimili ng mga topics na gagamitin ninyo for research. Because one of the requirements is that your topic must be within your specialization. Since your program is educational management, you should be selecting a topic related to educational management, not about other programs. So sana maliwanag po yun. And last time, alam ko, pinagawa ko na ng matrix. Okay na. Yung iba nag-submit na, i-check ko na lang para sa approval ng topic. Pero ang pinaka-importante dito, magpo-post ako sa ating FB page, is that you are going to identify your IV and DV. You will be identifying an IV and DV of your research paper that I will check later on siguro. No? So that when Dr. Ray next meeting checks or presents the IMRAD format, alam nyo na kung anong topic ang gagamitin ninyo using IMRAD format. And since this is doctorate program, wala ko masyadong problema sa research kasi para na lang kayo nagre-review ng research eh. Lalo na yung mga naging estudyante ko dati sa Lako, para na lang kayo nagre-review. Wala naman na bago. Ang pinagkaiba lang ngayon, ang approach natin is puro research-based. No? Lahat ng major subjects, meron po siyang inclusion ng research. But do not worry, because whenever I request you to do a research paper for every major subject, i-guide ko kayo kung paano gawin yung paper. No? At i-check ko yung paper ninyo, that's why magiging co-author nga ako ng paper ninyo. So meaning to say, possible na marami tayong maging output ng research for this semester. All right. So therefore, for my last topic for today, the real problem indicator. I was telling this to my former students. The real indicators of research problem are the blank spot and the blind spot. What is the difference between the two? Blind spot happens when you review the literature and the body of literature gave you a lot of references, gave you a lot of resources. Halimbawa, ang topic mo nga kanina is about leadership style and teacher's performance ang inyong dependent variable. Ang independent variable ay leadership style. Tapos napakadaming lumabas na literature about that topic. You will read the findings. Halimbawa, nakapag-download ka ng 50. However, 40 authors or 40 articles stated that leadership style does not significantly affect the performance of the teachers. However, there were 10 authors who found out that leadership style affects the performance of teachers. So you will notice that there are contradicting findings or conflicting findings. In layman's term, nag-aaway-away yung mga findings nila. And that is the time that you identify that is going to be a blind spot. Meaning to say that the findings are contradicting with one another. No? On the other hand, when you say naman blank spot, when you review the literature, for example, your topic is about new normal leadership style. O kung gusto mong gamitin yung COVID-19 leadership style para specific sa nangyayari ngayon, ay panigurado wala ka pang makikitang research about COVID-19 leadership style. Bakit? Ngayon lang yan bago lang So meaning to say, kung wala pang literature na nakasulat related sa topic na gusto mong pag-aralan, ang tawag dyan ay blank spot. So maliwanag po ba ang difference ng blind spot and blank spot? Because those are the real research problem indicators. Our goal as scholars, as research scholars, is to contribute to the body of knowledge. The contribution is either solving the conflicting findings in the literature or adding new knowledge in the body of literature. Pag sinabing new knowledge, it is not yet known. Halimbawa, yung COVID-19 leadership style na yan, that is not yet known. Wala pang nakasulat. Baka kung sakasakali, pag sinipag akong gagawa ng theory niyan, ng COVID-19 leadership style. Pero kapag marami nang nakasulat, pero conflicting yung findings nila, ang tawag doon, blind spot. So either marami or konti, may problema pa din. Ang tawag doon, gap in the literature or GAP in the literature. Ang tanong, paano kung you were able to read 50 articles and no contradicting findings are present? Are you going still to continue the study? Of course not. Kasi wala nang problema Pag wala nang contradicting findings, huwag nyo nang ituloy. Kasi consistent na siya sa literature. Wala na kayong bago madidiscover. Remember that we do research because there is a problem. And the problem that we are referring to in research is or are the blank spot and the blind spot. Those are the real research problem indicators. Pag walang blank spot or blind spot, wala kayong dapat pag-aralan. No? Kaya malalaman nyo yan kapag diniscuss ni Dr. Ray ang IMRAD format, malalaman nyo kung saan nyo palalabasin yung blank spot or blind spot sa IMRAD format. Kasi dapat sa IMRAD format lalabas yan. Oh, what's the biggest lesson for this morning? Na bago mo maisulat yung IMRAD mo, dapat nakapagbasa ka muna ng literature. Dapat nakapaghanap ka muna ng problema. Kasi wala kang maisusulat kung wala kang problema na nakita. Wala kang isosolve kung wala kang problema na nabasa sa literature. That is the real problem or gap in the literature that we would like to address. Any questions so far? So in our FB page, I will post the user ID and password for EBS co-host, no? Kasi I will be giving you free access to EBS co-host so that you can download articles that are related to your topic. And these articles must be published. I do not want you to use unpublished research articles or research materials. Ibig sabihin, yung mga thesis and dissertations sa library ay ayokong gagamitin ninyo. Unang-una, they are part of the gray literature. Tama po ba? Hindi siya ginagamit. Pangalawa, hindi pa pwedeng pumunta sa school. Hindi kayo papasukin sa library dahil bawal. Bawal pa magpapasok sa school. So ang kailangan nyo ngayon, online access. Kaya napakadali ng buhay ngayon. Everything is going to be online. Ibibigay ko or ipopost ko na lang sa FB page natin yung user ID and password para makapag-download kayo ng maraming articles na gusto nyo ma-download. Ayan, no? Yan ang mga databases ng EBSCO. No? Mula letter A to Z, napakadami yan. I-select nyo lang lahat, i-click nyo lang lahat. And then after clicking, lalabas dito, papipiliin kayo kung anong topic ang inyong gustong hanapin. Halimbawa, dapat may IVDV na kayo, yun ang importante. Halimbawa, tinype ko, teaching strategy and student achievement. Naputol lang kasi sa cellphone ko lang yan ginawa eh. Teaching strategy and student achievement. So, all you need to do is to search, click search. After clicking search, ayun, bibigyan ka na ng mga articles or researches that are related to teaching strategy and student achievement. Ibig sabihin, parang gusto mong malaman kung merong effect ang teaching strategy sa student achievement. So lahat ng articles na ibibigay sa'yo are related to your search. Diba? Tinan nyo to, 345 ang dami. Eh kung sa dissertation, 100 lang ang requirement, may sukli ka pang 245. O di ka na nagbayad, nagkasukli ka pa. Sobra-sobra pa. So ang kailangan nyo ngayon, laptop or Android phone na maayos-ayos kasi may PDF, full text. Pwede nyo i-download yung PDF full text. Meaning to say, na pwede nyo basahin anywhere you are. Kahit nasa CR kayo, habang nakaupo kayo sa inidoro, magbasa kayo ng articles. Habang naghihintay. Diba? Ibig sabihin, reading now, learning, research, is not confined in the four walls of the classroom anymore. You can learn research. Actually, in general, learning, not even research, learning does not only happen in the four walls of our classroom. And the pandemic crisis, the pandemic situation, taught the traditional teachers that learning can also happen online, can also happen through flexible learning, can also happen through blended learning, can also happen in a modular form of learning. Kasi ang akala ng mga matatandang teachers and administrators, dapat ang estudyante ay nasa classroom. Ayan, tinuruan tayo. Kaya lang, the hard way. Kailangan pa tayo magkaroon ng COVID para malaman natin na pwede naman pala natin matutunan na turuan ng mga estudyante natin kahit na nasa bahay sila. Akala ng mga traditional administrators and teachers, pag wala ang estudyante sa classroom or pag wala ang estudyante sa school, ay walang nangyayaring learning. Hindi. Pumunta ka nga lang ng Starbucks, maki-wifi ka, pwede ka na matuto sa Starbucks eh. Diba? Social na ngayon. Ang kailangan mo ngayon, wifi. Kung dati-dati, sabi ng mga ninuno natin, kahit daw sa ilalim ng puno, pwede nang mag-gather at pwede nang mag-aral. Ngayon hindi eh. Hindi nga pwedeng lumabas at hindi nga pwede ang gathering eh. So ang kailangan mo ngayon, internet connection talaga. No choice. So tingnan nyo, nagbabago ang lahat. Di ba? Nagbabago. At we need to adapt to these changes. Iba yung panahon noon, iba yung panahon ngayon. This is the new normal way of learning and educating our students. So, yan. Marami kayong mada-download. Yan ang example ng article. First page yan. Makikita nyo, after the title, may author, may abstract. Ang babasahin nyo lang usually abstract. Kasi nandyan yung mga yung findings. By the way, pag sinabing abstract, ang pinaka-content niyan, objectives, methods, findings, and conclusion. Ano ba ang kailangan hanapin? Findings lang. Siguro mga 2 or 3 sentences lang nandito sa parte dito yan. Hindi mo pa babasahin lahat yan. Kahit yung findings lang muna. Kaya madali ngayon ng research, hindi mo kailangan magbasa ng pagkakapal-kapal na articles. 10 to 15 pages lang, and take note, abstract pa lang ang babasahin. Kaya I do not believe, and I really beg to disagree, that research is a difficult subject. Research is an easy subject, yet hindi siya difficult, yet challenging. Kasi challenging bakit? Magtsatsaga ka maghanap ng article. Tapos, magtsatsaga ka magbasa ng article. Tingnan nyo yung font size, maliit, syempre, pwede yung i-zoom. Bakit mo tsatsagain? Kung medyo malabo mata mo, syempre, pagtsatsagaan mong basahin yan. Kasi naka-single space tapos maliliit pa. So, tsatsagain nyo na lang. Sa phone ninyo, pwede nyo namang i-zoom yan. Igaganon nyo lang naman yan Mazo-zoom nyo na yan Diba? Para mabasa ninyo. Alright, so I think I will end from there muna. What I'm telling you right now is that there is a scientific way in writing a research paper, and I'd like you to be scientific. There is a proper way and standard way in conceptualizing a research paper, and I'd like you to be standard. Kasi sayang naman yung ating online classes kung ang ituturo ko sa inyo at ang matututunan ninyo ay substandard. I hate substandard. Dapat doon tayo palagi sa standard way of doing things, no? So it's already any question? Any question? Wala? Wow. Ibig sabihin, for this first semester, talagang ang ADD students ko ay napakatataas ng IQ. Siguro superior ito or special. Kasi imagine niyo walang nagtatanong, naiintindihan lahat, no? Nakakatuwa naman. Ibig sabihin malinaw ang discussion. Tama ba yon? Oo.
Sir, question po.
Ay, yun. May question din. Sige.
Hindi sa discussion, sir, dun sa dun sa aming international publication. Is it okay na kung yung iba pipiliin nila individual and then the others group?
Yes. Okay po, no
Okay.
problem. Halimbawa,
And then,
merong gustong mag-solo, pwede yon. Kung meron din naman gustong mag-grupo, pwede rin yon.
okay lang, sir. Sir, is there any disadvantage kapag ka nasa group ka? Or ano ba yung mas sa tingin mo, advice mo sa amin? Anong mas maganda?
Sa akin, ang advice ko, if you think you are already accustomed to writing an IMRAD format research and you think that you can do it alone, pwede ka na mag-solo. But if you think you need the guidance or advice or assistance of somebody from your classmate, then you do it with a co-author.
Oh, okay, sir. Anyway, sir, parang ano pa lang naman, di ba? First step, ito pa lang yung umpisa mo before you go dun sa pinaka.
Tama. At saka do not worry, I'm always here naman to guide you. Kung magsosolo kayo, hindi kayo pwede mag-solo. Palagi akong co-author. Lahat ng paper na gagawin ninyo, magiging co-author ako kasi I will be guiding you.
Okay po.
From the beginning until the end. Hindi ko kayo iiwanan na hindi mabubuo yung paper.
Okay. Thank you very much, sir.
Walang anuman po.
Sir, question po.
Question, yes po.
Regarding po dun sa instrument.
Instrument, yeah.
Kapag po ba yung instrument was found in a book, no, hard-bounded na book, or nakita siya na naka-publish sa internet, kailangan pa po bang humingi ng permission from the author or the first user of the instrument?
Unang-una, titingnan mo kung yung naka-hardbound or naka-publish sa internet ay merong reliability index. And that is represented by the Cronbach's alpha. the acceptable reliability index is 0.7 and above. Kapag yan ay meron ng 0.7 and above, then that is acceptable and you can use the instrument provided that you ask permission in writing from the original author. Yun ang importante. That's ethical. And I'm sure wala namang author na hindi magpapahiram ng kanilang instrument. Bakit? Kasi gusto nga nila yan katulad ko. Kaya ako pinapublish yung mga articles ko at pinapahiram ko yung mga instruments na ginamit ko. Kasi ang aming agreement, pag pinablish mo, ang requirement ko, gagamitin mo yan pero ipapublish mo yung research paper. Why? Para mas mataas ang aking citation index. Nakita niyo na ba yung citation index ko? Hindi pa.
Hindi pa, sir.
Sige. Papakita ko lang sa inyo kung paano ang magpakita ng citation index. Kung okay lang sa inyo.
Okay po.
Okay lang. Sige. Sige, hanapin ko lang yung aking desktop. Naka-share screen na ba ako?
Yes po.
Yes po.
Nakikita niyo yung Google?
Yes po, sir.
Alright.
Okay po.
Sige. So, first of all, you will proceed to Google kung hindi kayo makadiretso sa Google Scholar. And then type nyo lang Google Scholar. Ayan. Halatang lagi kong sinisearch kasi lagi nasa unahan ka agad. O tapos pag nasa Google Scholar na kayo, ang gawin nyo, i-click nyo itong Google Scholar. Tapos i-type nyo yung pangalan. Bawa pangalan ko. And then yun, lalabas yung mga publication. Tapos, ito kasi Tagalog pasensya na kayo. Dito sa bandang side na to, meron ditong option, aking profile. O my profile yan, ibig sabihin. Click nyo lang yan. Tapos, lalabas yan. Since nagpalit ako ng email address, kasi yung dati kong gamit na email address ay parang webmail address ng school kung saan ako dati connected. Since hindi ko na ginamit yun, tinanggal ko, nagpalit ako. Gumawa ko ng bagong profile using my new email address. So makikita nyo, ang email address ko na rito is, iba na to, Alvin Villegas Nuki na to. Dati kasi Alvin Nuki at .lcup.edu.ph. Ngayon hindi na, binago ko na kasi hindi naman ako connected na sa Lako. So binago ko na, sariling email address na yung ginamit ko. Ayan, makikita nyo rito yung mga publications ng research paper. And then makikita nyo rito, nakalagay sinipik ni. Ibig sabihin, cited by. O, nandiyan yung mga citations ng ilan. Bawa, itong isa kong research paper, ang co-author ko rito, si Dr. Dali Kiambao, 19 na yung citations. Yung dean natin sa DABSU, no? Si Dr. Baking, presidente yan ng DABSU. Ito namang isa, ito yung dissertation paper ko na pinablish ko noong 2013. 2012 ako gumraduate, natanggap yung paper ko ng 2013. Meron na siyang 14 citations. Ayan. So, habang bumababa ka, makikita mo dyan yung mga citations per paper. So, halos karamihan naman, meron ng citations. Yung iba ay naghihintay pa ma-cite. Nakuha niyo po ba? Ibig sabihin, willing akong magpahiram ng instrument, basta meron lang kaming kasunduan. I-publish yung research paper para magkaroon ako ng citation. Kasi kapag ginamit niya instrument ko, no choice siya, isa-cite niya ako as one of the resources. Ngayon niyo lang ba nakita itong Google Scholar? First time?
Yes, sir.
Yung mga first time, at least nakita nyo na. Sa mga nakakita na dati, congratulations. At least alam nyo na to.
Yung last week po.
Last week, good. So at least alam nyo na ngayon na pag meron kayong gustong malaman na professor na nagtuturo ng research kung talagang siya ay merong publication, hanapin nyo dito. Kasi ang Google Scholar ay hindi ko gawa-gawa yan. Automatic yan. Automatic yan na pinifilter niya or kinokollect niya lahat ng mga papers na nag-cite ng published research paper mo. Tapos dito sa kanan, bandang kanan, meron ditong may summary eh. Mga pagsipi, ibig sabihin citation, lahat ng citation 62. Tapos meron pa siyang H-index at saka meron pang I-10 index. Saka na natin pag-usapan yan pagdating ng panahon. Kasi baka masyado na kayo ma-overwhelm. Ang gusto ko lang muna sa inyo ay magkaroon ng ganito. Ito mga list na to. Na magkaroon na kayo ng profile ninyo. Tapos, mamili kayo ng picture ninyo na medyo groovy. Nakakapa ako dyan at saka nakasalamin. So, sari-sariling naman yan. Sari-sariling, kanya-kanya namang style yan. Pero more than that, ang importante dyan, yung citation and publication. Did you get that?
Yes po.
Yes, sir.
Alright.
Cool.
Cool, di ba?
Yes po.
Yes, sir.
Nakakap pero nagpa-publish pala.
Yeah. Rock and roll to the world, sir.
Rock and roll to the world. Kasi ang learning must be fun. Ang learning ay hindi pang matatanda. Yan dapat nga yung mga nag-aaral mas bumabata. Bakit? Kasi you're having fun eh. When you are starting to like and love your work and your studies, parang magaan ang buhay, masaya ang buhay eh. Kasi you're learning. And if you're gaining, then you must be happy. Kasi ang mga nagiging unhappy lang naman yung mga nawawalan eh. Eh dito dapat nagiging happy kayo kasi you are gaining eh. Di ba? Tama ba ako?
Yes po.
You're not gaining money, but you're gaining knowledge and wisdom, of course. And that knowledge and wisdom, to me, when you have that, you are rich. Because that cannot be taken away from you until your last breath. Hindi man nanakaw sa'yo yan kasi sa'yo yan for life. So, may natutunan ba kayo sa ating discussion? Kasi alas 10 na.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Did you learn
Yes,
something?
sir.
I hope you
Yes, sir.
appreciate our sharing. So,
Yes po. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Ka-light yung ating usapan palagi. And when I say light, our EDD program will be research-based. But we will do research in a lighter manner. Napakadali lang po ng research. So sa FB page natin, malalaman ko kung anong plano ninyo, kung individual ang publication or group by group. Hindi ko kayo ngayon pipilitin. Pag-isipan nyo, magmuni-muni muna kayo, magsimba muna kayo, tingnan natin kung mag-guide kayo ng Holy Spirit. Kung ano magiging final decision ninyo. Alright? Because kung wala na kayong tanong, my dear doctorate EDD students, we are done with our first session, with our first half. The second half of our discussion, yung 10 to 12, would be sharing about the ethical considerations in research. No? Kasi nga mga doctors tayo, dapat ethical tayo sa paggawa ng ating research. I invited somebody to share his knowledge about ethical considerations in research. But we will have a very short break, mga 10 minutes lang. Okay lang po ba?
Yes po.
Okay po yan, sir.
Okay po.
Yes po, sir.
Bladder break lang ako. Tapos babalik ako after 10 minutes and then we will continue. Habang pumapasok yung mga kasamahan ninyo. So ngayon, dumadami pa kayo kasi para sa topic naman nito, isinama ko yung master's pro. Actually, program to ng MAED pro, ng MAED students. Itong mga ethical considerations. Since estudyante ko na rin naman kayo, di isasama ko na kayo. Kasi it would be nice that you know how to conduct research in an ethical manner. Okay lang po ba sa inyo, mga EDD students?
Of course,
Yes
sir.
po. No
Yes
problem.
po.
Hindi ko ba kayo naabala? Baka nakakahiya sa inyo, naabala ko na kayo ng gusto.
Hindi po.
Hindi po.
Okay, sige. So this will be again a combination of all education students from MA to EDD. And our topic will be ethical considerations in research. All right, so we will declare a 10-minute break, bladder break, and then after 10 minutes, we will proceed. No? See you later.
Okay po.
Hindi po.
Thank you po.
Good morning, Sir Nuki.
Good morning, everyone.
Morning po.
Good morning po.
Morning, Doc Alvin.
Good morning po.
All right, so good morning again, everyone. We are now in our second topic, which is the ethical conduct in doing research. No? Just a short background. I was saying a while back that when you conduct a research paper, it is a must that the implementation is ethical in nature. There are certain principles and guidelines that are going to be observed in conducting a research paper. And actually, previously, Attorney Frederick Gayla has already discussed the Data Privacy Act. And the topic on Data Privacy Act is somewhat connected to the ethics in doing research. And we invited somebody to share his knowledge about ethics in doing research. He is the current program head of the nursing program of La Consolacion University Philippines, and currently taking up also PhD in educational management. Ang hindi ko lang alam kung kailan siya lilipat sa EDD ng DubSU. But kidding aside, I'd like you to meet Professor Joseph Errol Cuevas, RN Man. Sir Errol, take it away, please.
Thank you po. So, Alvin Lupi. So, clear po ba ako?
Yes, dinig ka namin.
First, good morning. I'm very proud and honored to be here. Na-invite tayo ni Doc Alvin. So, ayan. So, dami pa lang school dito. We have the DABSU and the MAED program in May Kawayan. So, okay, let's start with our topic. So, good morning. So, my task is to discuss the ethical conduct in doing research. So, I know some of you are very familiar or na yung topic na to na natakil na before nyo. Some of you are very familiar to me. Yung iba naging classmate ko in the PhD. Nakita ko yung iba si Sir Christian. So, I know some of you is very familiar with this topic. But, yan. Allow me to start with my topic. So, okay. So, research ethics are common to all researchers and academicians. Thus, some are missing out important details. So, marami tayo na before akala natin okay lang to. Pag ginawa natin to sa research is ina-allowed to. But, meron tayong mga guidelines. So, later on in the discussion, ititingnan natin before we are come up with the idea of this research. Ethics, let us first deal on the separate ideas of these two important words. So, what is research and ethics or research ethics? Research ethics are common to all research and academicians. So,
Sir Errol,
yes po.
Naka-slide show na yan?
Ay, yes po din.
Kasi parang maliit yung...
Sorry po.
Pwede bang one screen lang para mas malaki yung ano mo? Kaya ba yun?
Check ko lang po. Sorry po.
Kasi meron kang next slide kagad eh. Yung slide mo lang muna kung ano yung i-discuss mo. Slideshow siya pero tanggalin mo yung ano yung...
Yes po, yes po. Naka-ano ako. Yan.
Kasi yan, oo, yan. Kasi katulad ko, malabo ng mata ko, hindi ko mabasa masyado. Sige. Okay.
Okay, going back. So, research ethics are common to all researchers and academicians. Thus, some are missing an important details. So, yun nga, before, we are gathering data, but familiar ba tayo with the guidelines or mga basic principles in doing research? And of course, especially in ethics. And so meron tayong mga some details na neglect. And so before we come up with the idea of the research, ethics, let us first deal on the separate ideas of these two important words. So let's define first what is the meaning of research ethics. So, according to Kotari in 2006, research is a pursuit of trust with the help of study, observation, comparison, and experiment. The search for knowledge through objectives and systematic methods of finding solutions to a problem. It is a broad definition of research is given by Martin Shuttleworth. So let me quote. And in the broadest sense of the word, the definition research includes any gathering of data, information, and facts of the advancement of knowledge. So, by Shuttleworth 2008. End of quote. So, meaning to say, when we are talking about research, we are dealing with a true study, and we are, because our aim is to find a systematic, of course, and scientific solutions, gathering information, and of course, with basis, di ba? Ito yung sinabi nga before ni Dr. Alvin. Ito yung pinaka-iniiwasan natin in doing research. Yung tinatawag natin yung chismis or yung tinatawag natin ng mga opinion o yung mga haka-haka. Meaning to say, dapat meron tayong laging basis, meron tayong evidences, and of course, with ethical principles. So, let's move to another slide. Ethics is based on well-founded standards of right and wrong that prescribe the human out to do, usually in terms of rights, obligations, benefits to all society, fairness, or scientific virtues, from Velasquez and his group in 2010. Secondly, ethics refers to the study and development of one's ethical standard. So it only means that ethics is also called moral philosophy. The discipline concerned with the morally good and bad. So magpo-focus tayo what is good and what is bad. The term is also applied to any system or theory of moral values or principles. So later, if may question kayo, pa-reserve na lang ng questions, ha? Ayan. So in the Philippines, so familiar ba kayo with mga ethics review board natin? So the establishment of the Philippines National Health Research System or tinatawag natin ENHRS began in 2003. So nag-start siya in 2003 and when a memorandum of understanding was a setup between Department of Science and Technology for the university and with the DOH. And it's completed during 2007 when the chaired, of course, the Commission of Higher Education and the University of the Philippines, Manila, were drawn in an implementing agency. Di ba yung tinatawag natin no before, na sinay niya nung tinatawag natin RA 10, if I'm not mistaken, RA 1053. And so, with our president before, President Benigno Aquino, on May 7, 2013, so he signed the law. He signed the law in health research ethics. That is why it is very necessary to always consider the research ethics. So we are very lucky because I think, andyan naman si Dr. Nuki. So once you pass your research, i-review na rin niya or meron tinatawag tayong review and ethics board. Ayan. Okay, dadaan naman yan kay Dr. Nuki. So mari-review niya kung ethics correct ba yung research natin or may kailangan tayong i-modify. So ito, not all research is ethically research. So lahat tayo kaya na natin gumawa ng research malamang, but some of us are not aware with the guidelines. What is the guidelines of this? Before kasi may nangyari, ito pinaka nag-start kung bakit nag-start yung ethical research. Alam ko, I don't know if familiar kayo with this. Take a look with the pictures. So, this man, ito, during the time of Hitler, he was assigned, he was the head of the institution, si Fritz Fischer. So before, he was assigned by Hitler to make or conduct an experiment with the physicians. Doctor ito, si Fritz Fischer, together with the physician, pinag-experimentohan nila yung mga prisoner. So during that time, nag-start na mag-conduct ng ethics. So here in the Philippines, nangyari ito before sa atin. Ewan ko lang ako, di pa kasi ako that time. But during the time of President Marcos, and di ba si President Marcos, familiar naman kayo that he suffered a disease called lupus, di ba? So during that time, he suffered a disease of a lupus. nag-start mag-develop siya ng chronic kidney failure. So during that time, kumukuha siya ng prisoner sa bilibid to experiment their kidneys. So yun, medyo ano rin din yun. Nagkaroon din tayo ng parang with the President Marcos. So, without asking permission with the prisoner, kumukuha lang sila ng healthy prisoner to experiment the kidney.
Sabi ko, yan yung tuturo ko kaya kanya minsan. Sabi ko, mas maporma pa yung bakod ko balik.
Research ethics provide.
Errol,
Yes po.
Iba't yung bali, simply
i-mute ko lang muna silang lahat ha.
Sige po. Thank you po.
Masasama ka, tapos on mo na lang yung microphone mo.
Hello po. So thank you, Doc. So research ethics provide guidelines for the responsible conduct of research. In addition, it educates and monitors scientists conducting research to ensure a high ethical standard. So aside from the research ethics, govern that standard of conduct for scientific researches, it is important to adhere to ethical principle in order to protect the dignity, of course, the dignity, the rights, and the welfare of research participants. So, and meron din tayong basic example in St. Luke's or tertiary hospital in Manila or Metro Manila. Kung tinatawag sila na charity ward. In charity ward, or some of the patient, of course, medyo belong sila sa mga indigent patient. In charity ward, doon nila inaano yung mga researches nila sa gamot, sa procedure, and they perform procedures without parang wala pa siyang final na pwede nang gawin to sa mga patient. So doon siya kino-conduct sa charity ward. So yun. May mga nagtatry kahit minsan paying naman yung patient, pero tinatry nila yung mga research procedures. And research ethics address the applications of ethical principles or values to various issues and fields of research, including ethical aspects of the design and conduct of research. The way human participants or animals within research projects are treated, whether the results may be misused for criminal purposes, and aspects of scientific misconduct. So, as such, all research involving human beings should be reviewed by an ethics committee. So, of course, tao yan. Before tayo magbigay ng, especially in medicine kasi, so sobrang detailed talaga pagka yung sa medicine. So medyo sensitive sila in ethics. To ensure the appropriate ethical standard, make sure nila na na-apply talaga yung mga ethical standard in research. Knowledgeable and research that will come up with a outstanding output. Before i-try siya sa, for example, yung basic example natin is yung COVID-19 vaccine. Sobrang dami dyan na nag-start gumawa nung particular vaccine na yun for COVID. But hindi pa nila talaga mailabas sa merkado because wala pa talagang final na studies. Diba? So maraming nag-try na bansa. Germany, Japan, of course US. So, but iniintay pa rin nila na ma-finalize. Yung iba may nagtatry, sumasama sila sa study. But ayun nga, of course meron silang may i-discuss natin yung mga kailangan ng mga participants. And of course, in the Philippines, at the present, ito meron tayong tinatawag na PC of a Philippine Council for Health Research and Development. And yung tinatawag natin yung PRED. Has 12 members including the DOST. And executive directors as as a member and representative from DOH and CHED. So what are the functions of PREV? The functions of PREV is to formulate and update guidelines. So ina-update niya yung mga guidelines in doing research. So ethical research. Conduct of human health research, develop guidelines for establishment and management of RECs. So yun yung mga review of ethics committee natin. Standardize of research ethics review. Monitor and evaluate the performance of institutional RECs in accordance with the procedure outlined in a prior agreement. The PREV also promotes and establish the functional and effective RECs.
It's 10:30.
Provide advice and make recommendations. So, medyo maano yung trabaho talaga ng PREV in research ethics. And of course, ini-include din niya yung FDA, kasama yung Food and Drugs Administrations regarding the program. Policies and regulations as they relate to ethical issues in human health research, and network with relevant local, national, and international organizations. And from these credible and reliable government institutions, we now came up with these 5 principles of research ethics. So let's take a look with the 5 principles. First is to discuss intellectual property frankly. Second, be cautious of multiple roles. Third, follow informed consent rules. So ito, one of the important. And then yung fourth, yung diniscuss last week as mentioned by Dr. Alvin, respect confidentiality and privacy. So medyo tayo with this, medyo may issues tayo with confidentiality and privacy tayo mga Pinoy. Tap into ethics resources. So, yan. So first, let's discuss the intellectual property frankly. So, APA Ethics Code offers some guidance in specify that faculty advisor discuss publication credit with student as early as feasible and throughout the research and publication process as appropriate. So ito medyo sensitive tong part na to, yung intellectual property frankly. So usually example lang, wala naman akong dito ibig sabihin. For example, collaboration with professors and students. After finishing the study, the research, ipinablish ng professor and then hindi sinama yung Yan, nangyayari sa atin sa Pilipinas yan. And then what else? Di ba? Yung, for example, collab din kayo, classmate kayo, and then may nag-publish international, and then hindi sinama yung iba. O, minsan kasi sa atin, di ba, nag-group tayo by friends or by co-workers in publishing and research. So, be conscious of multiple roles. APA Ethics Code said psychologists should avoid relationships that could reasonably impair their professional performance or could exploit or harm others. But it also notes that making kinds of multiple relationships aren't unethical as long as they're not reasonably expected to have adverse effect. So perfect example nito is i-ano ko na lang in nursing because kasi ako professor ako in nursing. So before sa amin, di ba? Once mag-aano kami ng mga procedure, partner by partner, student will be partner with another student. But and nakita ko siya na unethical siya. Why? Yung student na to is paying. So anong kailangan niyang, for example, intravenous injections sa same na student. So ang mas tama pala doon is through the use of mga dummies, hindi siya student by student. So remember that student is mga yung paying student. So hindi mo siya pwede talagang saktan or mas maganda gumamit ka na lang ng dummy. Kaya yun, mag-invest talaga dapat sa mga dummies. So, yan. know your role, and then follow the informed consent rules. The consent process ensures that individuals are voluntarily participating in the research with full knowledge of relevant risks and benefits. So, and meron tayong mga tinatawag na yun sa mga paano natin mabovoid yung informed consent. Meron yan mga guidelines to void the informed consent. Pwedeng hindi, pwede siyang tinakot para mag-sign sa consent or and another important principle and when done properly, yung informed consent, the consent process ensure that individuals are voluntarily, hindi siya pinilit, participating in the research and in full knowledge of relevant risks and benefits. Make sure na discuss sa kanya yung pwedeng mangyari sa kanya in doing research. Kasi tayo, class, nasanay tayo in, di ba, may, minsan survey lang. But in other research kasi, medyo meron sila tinatawag ng mga procedures that can harm the participants. So yun, make sure na sabi yung mga possible risks or possible benefits. Diba? Make sure alam lahat ng participants. Federal standard is the person must have all of the information that might reasonably influence their willingness to participate in form that they can understand and comprehend. And according to Pusher, and if research participants or clients are not competent to evaluate the risks and benefits of the participations, for example, yung mga minors natin, so make sure yan, may kasama siya na pwedeng natin i-discuss together with their parents, di ba? Meron yung tinatawag na cognitive disabilities, yun yung mga natin. The person who's giving the permission must have access to the same information. Walang discuss din natin sa pwedeng significant others niya. Ayun. EPA Ethics Code stated that the participant should be informed about, first is the purpose of research, expected durations and procedures. Ito yung pwede nyo kailangan sabihin sa kanila. Participants' right to decline, to participate, and to withdraw from the research once it has started, as well as the anticipated consequences of doing so. So anytime pwede siya mag-back out. Di ba? Or anytime pwedeng kahit nag-start na yung research, pwede pa rin siya mag-back out. Reasonably foreseeable factors that may influence their willingness to participate, such as potential risks, discomfort, or adverse effects, any prospective research benefits. Next, limits of confidentiality, such as data coding, disposal, sharing, and archiving, and when confidentiality must be broken. Next is incentives for participations. So, may binibigay dapat tayo ng mga incentives in participation. But, iba naman kasi in token or in kind yung binibigay nila. Who participants can contact with questions. So, make sure lahat ng information will be discussed to the participants or with the significant other. And before kasi, nagkakaroon ng research sa mga patient na meron, for example, mga comatose patient. Gagawa nila ng experiment. Sino nang didiscussan natin doon? Of course, comatose is a deep sleep kasi yun. So, hindi na siya, pwedeng matagal siya magising, pwedeng days, pwedeng months, pwedeng years. So, dinidiscuss natin yung information through the significant other. So, respect confidentiality and privacy. Next, upholding individual rights to confidentiality and privacy is a central tenet of every psychologist's work. Protecting someone's privacy involves protecting them from unwanted access, all controlled by others. Privacy can be thought of in terms of 5 dimensions: physical privacy, informational privacy, decisional privacy, personal property, and expressive privacy. Kung ito na-discuss na last week, but ito ma-apply natin to in our daily lives yung confidentiality and privacy natin. Like for example, na-try nyo na ba class sa cellphone nyo? For example, nag-browse lang kayo. Nag-browse kayo ng particular item. Sample natin is Shopee, di ba? Nag-browse kayo sa Shopee. And then, after a while, nag-open kayo ng Facebook. Dinidisplay sa inyo ng Facebook kung yung browse nyo. Yung mga browse nyo na item. Nangyari na ba sa inyo? Na-experience nyo siya? Diba? After nyo yung item, i-browse na specific application. After you open another applications, i-display sa inyo or parang ino-offer sa inyo yung browse nyo. Nangyari sa inyo yun?
Yes.
Yes po.
Natin doon. Di ba minsan may tinatawag tayo na terms and conditions, sobrang haba. So guilty tayo dito, some of us, hindi na natin binabasa siya. Accept the terms lang, di ba? So nakalagay doon na may bibigay nila yung information, particular information sa mga different app. So ewan ko lang kung binabasa natin yung iba doon or kung mabasahin nyo siya, naka-specified siya doon. Kaya may gulat kayo. Or for example, nagbagit na ako ng example, SM. Nagugulat kayo, di ba? Yung mga meron tayo sa ating mga SM Advantage card. Bigla na lang may magte-text sa atin. So ano ba ang di ba meron tayong mga points doon. So yung SM, ang mag-gather niya sa atin is pinag-experimentohan tayo or research. For example, here in Bulacan, mas malakas yung product na ganito. Saan nila nakikita? Doon sa card na kinuha natin. Yung mga ganun. So, yung particular na item na yun, makikita ng system ng SM. Dito, malakas pala yung ganito, dagdagan natin. Di ba? Because of the card. Diba? Meron tayo doon C9 or during the membership yung isa-sign ka doon. So, mahaba din kasi yun. So, iba, guilty tayo na hindi natin nabasa. So, ngayon yung mga nandun doon. Magugulat ka, may tatawag sa'yo. Paano nalaman yung number ko? Because nag-sign up ka doon in particular. Ayan, yung mga ganyan. Applications or pwede sa mga sinassign natin sa ganyan, sa mga malls, nakukuha yung natin. Mga informations natin. Researchers shall adhere the principles of transparency, legitimate purpose, and proportionality in the collection of retentions and processing of personal information to the Data Privacy Act of 2012. So, pinaka-experience ko, personal experience ko to dyan sa data privacy na to. So, one of my colleagues before, well, siguro meron siyang in the, parang sa bank, ganyan. So, nakuha yung number ko ng bank, sa akin tumatawag. Sabi ko, baka pwedeng pakidelete yung number ko kasi ganyan, hindi naman ako nag-sign up sa inyo, hindi ako nagpa-member or anything. So, yun ako sila sa Data Privacy Act. So, yun, dinelete nila yung number. So, pwede nyo silang ganun yun. Hindi lang may tatawag sa inyo, may, yung co-workers nyo. Ayan. Tap into ethics resources. One of the best ways researchers can avoid and resolve ethical dilemmas is to know both what their ethical obligations are and what resources are available to them. And so, researchers can help themselves make ethical issues salient by reminding themselves of the basic underpinnings of research and professional ethics. So be sure to provide the details and comprehensive information about the study. And so, such as consent, of course, informed consent, how participants will be recruited, and how confidential information will be protected. Hindi na pwede na makikita ka, naka-post yung ginawa yung research doon, tapos kasama yung mga participants. So, and depende. And then, for example, nagkaroon kayo ng study about sa isang school. For example, negative yung nakuha yung result. Negative yung nakuha yung result. Hindi mo siya pwede i-publish. So make sure ilalagay nyo one of the university in Bulacan. So random siya. Hindi siya pwede, lalo of course with negative results. So make sure hindi maano yung information na yan. And researchers can help themselves make ethical issues salient by reminding themselves of the basic underpinnings of research and professional ethics. And so again, not all research is ethical research. So that we can always avoid unethical works, as we are all professionals, individual, and we can produce ethical research output. Of course, with the help of our Professor Dr. Alvin Nuki in the ethical world of different school. And magka-come up tayo with ethical research. And so, as we are about to end, and allow me to discuss here and serve as a thought founder as we are developing a research skills from Albert St. Gorgie. And I quote, research is to see what everybody else has seen and to think what nobody else has thought. End of quote. So with that, again, good morning and thank you po for having me here. Salamat.
All right. Thank you so much, Professor Joseph Errol Cuevas, for that very informative discussion about ethical conduct in doing research. Gusto ko yung quote mo, pabalik nga ulit. Maganda yung quote na nakuha mo.
Wala po nakuha yan, no?
Oo. To think what nobody else has thought. Tama yan. That would mean novelty and originality. No? Yan ang ibig sabihin. Maraming salamat po. But before we entertain questions and clarifications, I will amplify, I will add up to the discussion of Professor Errol Cuevas. I also prepared a short presentation about ethical conduct of research. Salamat, Sir Errol. Pero stay ka lang dyan kasi mamaya may magtatanong sa'yo. Ako naman ang mag-share ng screen ngayon. Alright, kita niyo na ba yung screen ko?
Yes po.
Yes po.
Opo.
Actually, Professor Cuevas has made a very good discussion, a very good background of the ethical conduct of research. But of course, I would like also to add some more, no? Some more considerations, some more principles and guidelines for you to be ethical in conducting a research paper. And when we say ethics in research, according to ESRC in 2004, this is the moral principles in guiding research. No. We always bear in mind that there should always be morality in doing research. We meaning to say that we do not identify a topic that is immoral. Kasi once the topic is categorized as immoral, that is already violating the principle of ethical conduct of research. So meaning, these are sets of moral principles or norms that are used to guide moral choices of behavior and relationship with others, according to Bloomberg et al. In 2005. It doesn't mean that we would like to finish our research paper, we will disregard the ethics, no? Ibig sabihin nito na kailangan ay kahit gusto nating makapag-data gather, we will always consider the moral principles behind conducting research paper. Later on, I will enumerate those moral. There are about 4. I only selected 4 that are relevant to educational setting. But there are so many moral principles that are available, but I only selected 4. And actually, if you're familiar with Nuremberg Code, this will give you a guideline, or these are guidelines in conducting a research that is ethical. First of all, voluntary consent of the human subject is essential. So there should be an informed consent. That is why our plan is to, if you attended our discussion with attorney Frederick last meeting, we will draft a consent form, para siyang template consent form na gagamitin ninyo for your data gathering. Meaning to say na papipirmahan nyo ito sa mga respondents, katibayan na sila ay voluntarily na involved sa inyong research. Ibig sabihin, no human subject, no respondents must be forced to be part of your research. Second, experimentals should yield fruitful results for the good of society, unprocurable by other methods or means of study, and not random and unnecessary in nature. So let us get the word fruitful results, meaning to say it will help the society. No? Imbis na makasira siya, dapat makakatulong siya sa society mo. Kung yung research mo ay nag-create ng problema, nag-create ng chaos, nagkagulo yung society because of your research. Halimbawa, scientist ka, bumuo ka ng vaccine for coronavirus. Tapos mas marami namatay, imbis na nakabuhay, mas marami pa namatay. That is unethical. No? Experiments should be so designed on a knowledge of the problem under the study that the anticipated results will justify the performance of the experiment. Meaning to say that you thoroughly studied the possible result of the study. Kumbaga sa experiment, inalam mo na yung formula at alam mo na yung magiging result. Hindi pwede na gumawa ka ng isang research study nang hindi mo alam, nang wala ka napipredict na possible result. Basta mahalaga, ang ating isipin dito para maging ethical siya, it will not bring harm to the respondents. No harm should be given to any of the respondents. And then no experiment should be conducted where there is a priori reason to believe that death or disabling injury will occur. Ibig sabihin, para to sa mga experimental research, alam mo na nga na nag-yield na ng hindi maganda before, pero ginawa mo pa rin ngayon. Yun ang ibig sabihin ng ethical conduct according to the Nuremberg Code. And then the degree of risk should never exceeded the humanitarian importance of the problem to be solved by the experiment. So you should always foresee the possible risk that your research paper will develop. Kapag nakita mo na medyo risky siya, huwag mo na siyang itutuloy. Halimbawa, pag nakita mo, ang dependent variable mo ay teacher's performance at nakita mo na risky na i-divulge yung pangalan ng eskwelahan, ay huwag mo i-divulge yung pangalan ng eskwelahan. Kawawa naman. Kasi malalaman pala yung mga teacher's performance. O halimbawa naman, your topic is about moral. O kaya mental stress. Kasi uso ngayon mental stress dahil sa pandemic. O you have to consider whether assessing the mental stress will put the respondents at risk. Kasi para bagang ipapalaganap mo sa research mo na itong mga to ay merong mga mental health problems. Next, adequate facilities should be provided to protect the experimental subject against even more remote possibilities of injury, disability, or death. O katulad ngayon, pandemic. Tapos magde-data gathering kayo. Tapos ginather mo yung mga respondents mo sa isang lugar without proper health protocol. That is against the Nuremberg Code. Kasi dapat you are going to avoid the risk by providing adequate facilities. Kung pwede nga lang one at a time ang pag-interview, okay din, no? At napag-usapan natin, dapat ay merong informed consent, pumirma yung subject or respondents niyo na they would become part of your research paper. The experiment should be conducted only by scientifically qualified persons. By the way, when we are talking about experiment, we are talking about laboratory experiments that will involve human beings as a subject. Pero in our case, ina-apply lang natin sa possible descriptive research. I'm sure wala naman yatang gagawin experimental dito. Karamihan naman descriptive research ang gagawin. The human subject should be at liberty to bring the experiment to an end if he has reached the physical or mental state where continuation seems to him to be impossible. Or in descriptive research, if, for example, you are going to conduct a qualitative research, and, for example, the topic is so sensitive that the subject becomes emotional and cried a lot during the interview, right away, the human subject, has the right to stop the data gathering. Kasi pag sinabing qualitative, interview to open-ended questions ang iyong mga tinatanong dito But if there will be times that upon interview, you found out that the respondents or the subjects become emotional, then they have the right to immediately stop the interview, no? The researcher must be prepared to terminate the experiment at any stage if he has probable cause to believe that a continuation is likely to result in injury, disability, or death to the experimental subject. So in our case, ang pinakaabangan lang natin ay iingatan natin nga po yung pandemic pa rin po tayo ngayon kahit nagluwag na. Ang pinapalabas na ngayon, according to IATF, 15 to 65 na. Medyo maluwag na. Pero it doesn't mean to say na magiging pabayaan na tayo. Kaya nga ang CHED, graduate school, face-to-face classes are still not allowed to avoid risk for the students. So these are the typical research involving ethical risk. Ito yung alam nyo na panigurado, you will be violating ethical conduct pag ganito yung mga research ninyo. Una, vulnerable groups. Ano ba yung mga vulnerable groups? This will involve children and young people, mga elementary students, in-involve nyo na sa research ninyo. Those with learning disabilities or special needs. Kasi these children, parang they have no capacity to say no, lalo special children or with learning disabilities. They will just follow your instruction. So this vulnerable group should be considered as one of the violations in making an ethical research. Para maging ethical siya, iwasan nyo yung mga vulnerable groups na to. Sensitive topics. Ano ba yung mga sensitive topics? Sexual or illegal activities. Siyempre naman, kung ang subject mo ay na-rape, that is unethical kasi parang you will be digging on the painful experiences of the subject. And that is unethical. Remember that your research must not provide harm. It must always be good. Do no harm. If you are making your subjects or respondents, they felt bad during the research process, then you are doing an unethical you're doing unethical research, unethical research. Kaya dapat iiwasan natin to yung mga merong sexual or illegal activities or people's experience of abuse or violence. No? Ito yung mga physical abuse, yung mga violence against women. Hayaan na nating korte ang manguha ng data about them. Kasi kailangan yun sa korte pag may kaso. Pero yung mga harassment, yung merong abuse, wag na natin gawing part ng research natin kasi those are what we call sensitive topics. Element of deception such as covert observation used without a participant's full or informed consent. Yung parang dinideceive mo sila. Parang dinadaya mo sila na kunwari ay hindi magiging controversial yung topic niya o yung topic nyo. Kaya nyo sila kinuwang participant. So that is deception. We do not deceive the patient, the respondents, I mean. When you say deception, you explain everything. Ano yung ini-explain mo? Yung objective ng study mo. I-explain mo rin kung gaano katagal yung magiging interview mo sa kanya. I-explain mo rin yung mga benefits kung meron. Kung meron kang ibibigay na benefits. Kung wala, sabihin mo rin na wala. I-explain mo din kung ano yung mga possible risk. Parang ganon. Para pag sinabi ng pasyente, ng respondent na ayoko pala, may mangyayari palang ganyan. So at least, hindi mo siya dineceive. No? Next, access to confidential records or information. As per Data Privacy Act, confidential records or information are personal information. Diniscuss yan last week ng ating lawyer. Ano yung mga personal information na bawal yung i-gather? Full name, no? Kasi nga yung iba sa atin traditional pa eh. Parang sinasabi ko nga dikahon ang dikahon ng questionnaire nakalagay full name, address, monthly income, sex, occupation, parang ganon. Those variables nowadays are no longer acceptable. If you can avoid those personal information, avoid them because those are confidential records of information. Even kahit nga yung grades eh. Kaya nga minsan nagdadalawang isip ako kung i-approve ko yung academic performance eh. Kasi that is a confidential record or information. Ngayon, i-approve ko yan basta hindi lalabas yung pangalan ng estudyante, hindi lalabas yung pangalan ng eskwelahan, and you will be avoiding even the district or division where the school belongs. Kasi those are what we call confidential records or information. And then of course, activities leading to stress, anxiety, or humiliation amongst target groups. Dapat walang maramdaman na ganyan ang mga respondents ninyo. So nakalagay yan sa informed consent na just in case sila ay nakaramdam ng stress, sila ay nakaramdam ng anxiety or humiliation, immediately pwede silang mag-stop from answering the question. Kaya pag finalize natin yung ating informed consent, kasama tong mga to. Kasama tong mga principle na to. Clear po ba? Is this the first time that you heard this o matagal nyo nang alam?
Ngayon lang po.
Ngayon lang, sir. Ngayon lang.
First time lang po, sir. First time lang po.
Very good.
lang po.
Sir.
Very good. I'm happy. So reviewin nyo yung pinapa-approve nyong independent variable at saka dependent variable ha. Pag napansin nyo na mayroong mga confidential information kayong pinapa-approve doon, ay magdalawang isip na kayo kasi baka hindi ma-approve ng Research Ethics Committee. Kasi ang bawat school like Mecawayan College and Don Honore Ventura State University, merong Research Ethics Committee yan. This committee is in charge of checking whether you will be violating certain human rights and whether you are observing ethical conduct in doing research. And the things that I'm sharing with you right now are actually guidelines, principles, or should I say tips for you to avoid unethical conduct in doing research. So there are, as I've mentioned, there are so many ethical principles, but I've only chosen 4 that are very relevant to research conduct, no? To the conduct of research. 1, avoiding harm to participants, instead producing benefits. That's the first ethical principle. Second, ensure informed consent from the participants. Third, respect the privacy of participants. And fourth, avoid the use of deception. So what do we mean by, to discuss further para mas maintindihan nyo on how to avoid harm to the respondents, you would know that you are providing harm to the participants when there are embarrassments. Yung na-embarrass na yung respondents ninyo. When they are ridiculed. When they are belittled or generally subject to mental distress. Yung mga tinanong mo, magkano monthly income mo? Tapos sumagot siya, 5,000. Ay, 5,000 lang pala. So parang nabilittle siya ron. Kaya nga yung mga personal information, as much as possible, hindi yan hindi na pinapalagay yan eh. Kasi nga, it would cause harm. Halimbawa naman, ang topic mo is about, meron mga topic na LGBTQ, ang respondents. O tapos syempre ikaw medyo naging taklesa ka, sinabi mo na parang male and female lang ang nakalagay sa Bible. So, parang nakapag-embarrass ka pa ng respondents. Tapos ka pa, pure Catholic ka, dati kang madre. Sinabi mo, oy, nasa Bible, male and female lang. O di parang na-embarrass mo siya, na-ridicule mo pa siya. So, ibig sabihin, as much as possible, no belittling or hindi dapat magpo-produce ng mental distress sa respondents ang inyong research. Anxious, stressed, or subject to negative emotional reactions. Yung mga tipong after ng interview mo, naging negative yung pakiramdam ng respondents dahil sa mga tinanong mo. So that is why yung questionnaire natin, nire-review yan ng Research Ethics Committee or Ethics Review Committee. Kasi tinitingnan how ethical are the questions. Avoiding harm. Ito yung mga ways on how to avoid harm. Therefore, research should produce positive benefits instead of harm. Ano ba yung mga yon? Yung tipong pagkatapos ng interview mo o pagkatapos ng research mo, you added to human knowledge. Mas naging knowledgeable siya. O halimbawa, ang respondents mo ay mga HIV positive respondents. So parang after ng interview mo, nalaman niya na ito pala yung mga reasons kung bakit nagkakaroon ng HIV ang tao. O kaya pandemic na lang para very timely. Ito pala ang methods of transmission ng pandemic. Hindi yung tipong pagkatapos ng interview mo na siya, parang feeling niya na guilty siya kasi may nagawa siyang pagkakamali. Hindi dapat ganun ang magiging tema. Yung mga tipong sinisi nyo pa, kayo kasi, di kayo nag-iingat, ito, nagka-virus sa'yo, ang landi-landi nyo kasi lahat na lang pinatulan ninyo eh. dapat very, very affirmative, very positive ang sasabihin ninyo. Na tipong after your interview, nagbigay ka ng additional knowledge na to avoid this kind of transmission, we should do this and that and that and this. Hindi yung, kasi minsan nasa pagde-deliver yun eh. I-deliver mo siya ng maayos in such a way na positive ang magiging dating. At hindi paninisi. Kasi alam niyo naman tayo mga Pinoy, mahilig tayo sa mga pamamaril eh. Ganon tayo ng ganon eh. No? Turo tayo ng turo eh. Mayroon tayong manisi kung sino may kasalanan. Instead na manisi at magturo ng kasalanan, turuan. That is the purpose of research, is to add human knowledge because nobody is perfect. Turuan mo siya, pag natuto, edi okay, that is a good research. Pero nung tinuruan mo, naging bad pa, that's not a good research. That is unethical. Pangalawa, yielding accurate and valid results, no? Dapat palagi siyang accurate at hindi kayo manghuhula sa results. At saka valid palagi dapat siya, may basis palagi para magkaroon ng positive benefits. And providing feedback to respondents if possible to promote greater self-understanding. Ito yung sinasabi ko kanina. Na pwedeng after ng interview mo, after ng data gathering mo, you provided a simple explanation. You provided a positive feedback, no, with the goal of greater self-understanding. Yung mga tipong pag-alis mo, buti na lang pala, nagkaroon ng research na ganito, natutunan ko tuloy ngayon na ganito pala dapat to, ganito, ganyan, ganito, ganon. Ganon dapat ang realization nun. No harm, more of positive benefits. Did you get that? So that is the first principle that you have to bear in mind. No? That when you do your methods, lalo sa mga nagsusulat na ng kanilang thesis or dissertation, this should be reflected under methodology and what we call ethical considerations in conducting research. Number 2, informed consent. Research should provide information on, nabanggit ko to kanina, you should be providing them with the aims of the research. Tipong ano ba talaga ang pinaka-goal mo ng research mo, dapat alam ng subject. So babalikan mo lang yung pinaka-objective mo, nothing more, nothing less. Kung hindi siya part ng iyong research, huwag mong i-gather. Halimbawa, sabi ko nga dati, dekahon. Kahit hindi naman kailangan ng demographic profile, nilalagyan ng demographic profile. O di kung gusto mo, lagyan mo na lang ng code number. Code number 1, code number 2, code number 3. Pero asking their full name, their address, their monthly income, their etc., I think that is unethical and that is violating the data privacy. Researchers should provide also information who will be undertaking it. Halimbawa, kung ang inyong variable ay academic performance, di syempre hindi naman pwedeng estudyante kausapin nyo dyan. Parents or teachers or principals. Kasi nga, di ba sabi natin, vulnerable groups ang young people. So do not involve young people in your research. You go to the higher up. Sino yun? Either parents, teachers, or the administrators or the principal. So you should explain who will be undertaking and who will be part of the respondent, of the research paper, and who is being asked to participate. Pag sinabing who will be undertaking it, sino mag-i-interview? Ikaw o meron kang ipinadala? Kasi minsan meron mga researchers na na maraming pera na instead na siya yung nag-data gather, nagbabayad siya ng, ang tawag doon is enumerators. Babayaran niya ng 1,000 per instrument. Tapos siya yung ang magde-data gather, yung binayaran niya. So kung ang respondents ay 1,000, so 1,000 times 1,000 magkano yun? Ang laki ng binayad mo sa enumerators mo, pwede mo namang gawin yun. So yun. Kaya nga, you will put there who will be undertaking. Kung ikaw ilalagay mo, pangalan mo doon sa informed consent. Kung hindi ikaw, ilalagay mo yung pangalan kung sino magde-data gather para alam ng respondent kung sino yung kausap niya. Importante yun, nakilala niya yung kausap niya. What kind of information is being sought? Dapat ipapaliwanag yun sa informed consent. Whether are you going to get the type of leadership of the principals? Are you going to get the different online modalities that the teachers are utilizing? Are you trying to get the reading comprehension of the student of the learners? Parang ganon. Kasi kapag nalaman ng respondents kung ano yung mga information na hahanapin ninyo, pwede siyang mag-say no. Sasabi niya, ay ayoko. Kasi meron kaming pinapangalagaan. So pag nag-say no, no choice ka. Hindi mo siya pipilitin. Hindi siya magiging part ng iyong hindi siya magiging part ng iyong study. And then, ang last part is how much of the participants' time is required. Please do remember that you are only asking a favor from your possible respondents. And as much as possible, you explain to the participants, to the respondents, the amount of time that you will be consuming. Kasi baka mamaya hindi mo in-explain na maghapon ka pala mag-i-interview and dahil palang gagawin ng respondent mo. Halimbawa, respondent mo ay parent. Napabayaan na yung anak, may modular pala yung anak sa bahay. Hindi na na-attendan yung module ng anak niya. Competitive yung mga magulang, gusto magtapon yung anak niya, siya lahat ang sumagot ng module. So you need to inform the participants how much time will be allotted for the interview. Kasi pwede siyang magsabi na, ay hindi ko kaya yung 2 oras, 1 oras lang. O ikaw mag-a-adjust. O yun ang laman ng informed consent. Kapag nailagay mo yung mga yan na ilan yan, 2, 4, 5, pag nailagay mo yan sa informed consent, tapos pinirmahan ng respondent yung iyong informed consent, then pwede ka na mag-data gathering. Safe ka na, hindi ka na makakasuhan. Kasi kapag hindi ka nagpa-inform consent sa panahon ngayon at nag-data gathering ka, yari ka. May data privacy act violation ka. Dapat merong permission from the respondents. Dati-dati, noong mga unang panahon, applicable lang to sa health. Bakit sa health and medicine? Kasi syempre, sa hospital, may mga pasyente, nagpapakuha ng dugo, nagpaparaspa, nagpapa-opera, nagpapa-sex change, etc. Gamot, lahat ng operations. Lahat ng operations may informed consent yan. Naka-stipulate doon yung mga gagawin. Naka-stipulate doon yung mga possible complications. Pag pinirmahan ng patient, or kung ang pasyente ay groggy, kapag pinirmahan ng guardian o ng kasama niya, ibig sabihin, pwede nang i-go yung procedure. Pero kapag hindi pinirma na yung informed consent, hindi pwedeng gawin ang procedure. Kaya dati sikat lang to sa hospitals. Kaya nga, if you remember kanina, merong explanation si Prof. Errol Cuevas regarding sa nursing. Kasi ang origin talaga nito ay sa medical field. Kaya lang ngayon, in-apply na rin sa lahat ng klase ng research. Sa lahat ng klase ng data gathering na merong human involvement. Kahit hindi kayo mag-oopera at mag-interview lamang, kailangan pa rin ng informed consent. Another thing, that participation in the study is voluntary. The respondents must be informed about it. That responding to all questions is voluntary also. So pag sinabi niyang ayokong sagutan yung part na yan, pwede mong hindi pa sagutan. Explain mo na lang sa defense kung bakit nagkulang yung mga sagot. Pwede mo sabihin na yung merong respondent na hindi siya comfortable sa question. And then, you will also explain or provide information on the informed consent who will have access to the data once it is collected. Kasi dapat ilagay nyo ron sa informed consent nyo na the data that you will be collected will be treated with utmost confidentiality and will be utilized for research purposes only. O, yun lang yun. Ibig sabihin, ang makakakita lang niyan, sino? Ikaw, advisor mo, at panel members mo. Sila lang, wala nang iba. Ilalagay mo doon. na sila ay magkakaroon ng access to data, and how anonymity of respondents will be preserved. Anonymity. Ibig sabihin, hindi dapat makikilala yung respondent mo. So sa informed consent, ilalagay nyo roon that their names will be coded. Kaya sa instrument, pag imbis na ilagay nyo na name, ilalagay nyo code lang. Kaya nga isa itong malaking pagkakamali ng mga survey instrument, pinapalagay full name. That is a very bad violation against ethics. And of course, who should it be returned and by when? Halimbawa, iniwan mo, sinabi ng respondent na iwanan mo na lang, medyo busy pa ako. Dapat ilalagay doon sa informed consent kung sino ang magsusoli, kung siya ba o yung anak niya o yung kanilang caretaker or kamag-anak. At ilalagay rin doon, may portion din doon kung kailan mo mariretrieve yung questionnaire na iniwan mo. Just in case ipapaiwan niya. Nakuha niyo po ba yon? Kung sinabi niya ngayong araw na ito makukuha ka agad, edi ilalagay doon. Siya maglalagay ngayong araw na to. Tapos pipirmahan niya. So ibig sabihin, when you gather your data, hindi ibig sabihin nun, all at the same time, sabay-sabay mo makukuha. Meron dyan, sabihin ka, after 2 days, balikan mo. O after 3 weeks, isi-send ko sa'yo sa email. Parang ganon. Kahit online pa yan. Sayang nga yung mga EDD students natin, nagpa-discuss ako about developing online forms, online instrument. Pero just subscribe to my YouTube channel, YT channel, Alvin Nuki. Naka-record po yung discussion about how to develop an online instrument. Pakibasa na lang po doon, pakiaral na lang po. Kasi sa panahon ngayon, bawal talaga ang face-to-face. Online lahat ngayon. So, dapat ma-inform din yung mga respondents that you are going to use an online survey instrument. No? At kung kailan nila masasagutan yung online survey instrument. So, essentially, yun na yung laman ng informed consent. Ilan yan? 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Kung yung 10 elements na yan, 10 yan, ay nakalagay sa informed consent ninyo, actually, pwede na kayong gumawa ng sarili nyong informed consent. Basta lahat itong mga to, pag tinanong, present doon. Nakuha niyo po ba yon? Alright, so that is what you call informed consent. Next, the third element is respecting privacy. Respondents must give, yun nga, when you provide informed consent, ibig sabihin, you are giving privacy to the respondents. And respecting when they would like to withdraw at any time should be done also. Pag sinabi nilang ayaw nila, hindi nyo sila pwedeng pilitin. Kung may target sample size ka, papalitan mo siya ng ibang respondent. No? Or kung talagang walang-wala ka nang makuha, sa defense, ipapaliwanag mo na lang sa defense na nagkaroon ka ng attrition or mortality rate. Pag sinabing mortality rate or attrition rate, ito yung mga hindi na sumagot. Ilagay mo lang doon na nagkaroon ka ng attrition rate because the respondents withdraw their responsibility of being data provider, parang ganon. And then data in electronic and manual forms must be kept securely. Sorry, nawala yung B. Inantok na siguro ako nung tinype ko yan. Data must be kept securely. Ibig sabihin, walang ibang makaka-access ng data kundi ikaw lamang, dahil kapag yan ay kumalat, makakasuhan ka ng Data Privacy Act violation. So, kung ako naman sa inyo, para hindi na kayo magkaroon ng problema, after nyo mag-data gather, usually meron mga panel members like ako, pag panel member ako, sa final defense, hinahanapan ko ng proof ng data gathering. Yung actual na sinagutan ng respondents. Hinahanap ko yon. So para maging safe kayo, after ng final defense, pwede nyo na siyang i-discharge, itapon. Kung electronic, i-delete nyo na siya. Mula sa files ninyo hanggang doon sa bin, trash bin. Trash bin ba yun? Oo. Dapat hindi na siya retrievable. Kasi baka mamaya, may maka-open ng, binenta mo yung laptop mo, tapos yung trash bin, hindi mo na empty, mau-open niya yung trash bin, possible yun, pwede ma-restore. At pag nakita na mayroong mga information doon regarding the respondents at kumalat yun, at na-trace na sa'yo galing, may kaso ka sa data privacy. Kung printed paper naman ang ginamit mo, nagpasagot ka manually, after the final defense, i-ano nyo na, i-shred nyo na. Shred, i-cut, itapon. Pero pinaka-importante, shred. Kasi wala dapat makikitang information na kahit anong information doon sa paper na maitatapon ninyo. Kasi pag yun ay napulot ng basurero at buo pa at na-trace na merong mga personal information at na-trace na sa'yo galing, again, kaso yun ng data privacy. Meron ako nabasang isang article na yung HR ay nagtapo ng files ng employees kasi hindi na kailangan. Pero hindi shinred. Nung napulot ng basurero, nakalagay doon yung buong information ng employee, pati full name, address, cellphone number, tsaka monthly payment, yung salary. Eh di parang kumalat. Nagkaroon ng kaso yung HR. Violation ng data privacy kasi parang pinagkalat niya yung information that is very personal related to the respondent. Iiwasan nyo yun. Kaya nga data in electronic and manual forms must be kept securely. That is respecting privacy of the respondents. Kahit nga yung mga pagpiprint screen, ito ingatan nyo ha, kahit nga yung mga pagpiprint screen, tapos pinopost niyo yung mga print screen na merong pangalan, tapos hindi pumayag yung kausap nyo na i-post yung conversation ninyo, pwede kayong kasuhan ng data privacy. Kasi pangalan niya yung nakalagay doon. Pero pag pinayagan kayo, edi okay lang naman yun. Kaya lang, pag hindi kayo pinayagan at pinost niyo yun anywhere else, publicly, that is a violation of data privacy. And of course, the fourth one is avoiding deception. When you say deception, you are open and transparent to the respondents by stating its objectives. Nabanggit ko na yung kanina. You must state your objectives. Kung ano yung pinaka-objectives ng study mo, the methods that you are going to utilize. Ano bang method ang gagamitin mo? Face-to-face interview, Zoom interview, telephone interview, video call, etc., etc., or online survey instrument. Dapat nakalagay yun doon, methods. Uses. Dapat ipaliwanag mo rin sa kanya kung saan gagamitin. Na maliwanag that you are data gathering because you will be utilizing this as a form of academic development, no? Or for academic purposes, for academic discussion. Then babanggitin mo rin na there's no inclusion or discussion of the personal information of the respondents. And then to avoid deception, you must be open and transparent about the role of respondents, including time and any other commitments. Huwag kayo mangangako ng hindi ninyo naman ibibigay. Halimbawa, nangako kayo na, sige po, pag sinagutan nyo questionnaire ko, meron po kayo sa akin na na konting reward. Padadalan ko po kayo na ng ano ba pwede ipadala? Papadalan ko kayo ng Starbucks through Shopee.
20 pesos load, sir.
Ayan, papadalan ko kayo ng 20. Tama, yun ang pinakamadali. Papadalan ko kayo ng 100 pesos na load. Parang ganon. O kaya ipapa-LBC ko sa inyo yung TV box para magkaroon kayo ng cable. Ano yung bagong TV box? Nawala na yung sa channel 2. Ano ba sa channel 7? Kapamilya TV box.
For the box, sir.
For the box.
For the box.
O kung hindi nyo naman magagawa yun, huwag nyo ipapangako, baka mamaya mag-expect yung respondents. You do not commit anything. Kung meron mang commitment, you have to be true with your commitment. Gawin ninyo. Huwag nyo papangakuan. Kasi kapag pinangakuan nyo, para lang mapasagot, ang tawag doon ay deception. Dapat open and transparent kayo. So in summary, research ethics refers to the moral principles guiding research, conducting research in a responsible and morally defensible way. Ayan napakaliwanag na ng definition ng research ethics. Any research involving the study of human populations can involve ethical considerations, but particularly research that deals with vulnerable groups and or involves sensitive topics that could cause distress or anxiety or involves any element of deception should be avoided. And finally, central to the principles of research are that it should first avoid harm to participants. That's number 1. 4 lang yan pakitandaan Avoid harm to the participants, ensure informed consent is available, respect the privacy of the participants, and avoid deception. So I think those are my additional inputs to the prior discussion of Professor Errol Cuevas. So the Zoom platform now is open for any clarificatory questions that you can throw either to Prof. Cuevas or to myself. Yung regarding sa EBSCO, ipapapost ko yung user ID and password sa ating FB page, Any clarifications? Any question? Any comment?
Sir, may I ask po?
Sure, Mr. Nuki. May kapilido ko dito. Sige.
What about po the use of Google Sheet in collecting responses? Because nowadays yun po ang trend. And ang ibang school ginagamit po in collecting data is the use of Google Drives or Google Sheets.
Okay.
Thank you very much po.
Welcome. I would like to answer, I still would like to answer that despite that there is already a video. Mr. Nuki, kindly subscribe to my YouTube channel. It's Alvin Nuki, but it's already in my video. But I will still answer that.
Thank you very much po. Yes, sir.
Find some time to listen to the previous lectures, but I will answer that. Google Forms, Google Sheets, are allowed, provided that before you ask the respondents to answer the Google Sheet, you gave them the informed consent that they need to sign. And signature may be in the form of digital signature or printed actual signature. Pag sinabing printed actual signature, ipapa-LBC mo pa isa-isa yun, medyo magastos. So ang pwede mong gawin, habang pinipirmahan niya yung informed consent, pipicturean niya yung sarili niya at ipapadala sa'yo yung picture na siya talaga yung pumirma doon sa informed consent. Tapos yung informed consent, pipicturean niya yung napirmahan niya na, tapos isi-send sa'yo either through messenger or through email. So pwedeng picture format, naka-picture format na lang yung informed consent ninyo. Pero pinadala niyo sa kanya ng printed or soft copy pero siya na magpiprint. Basta mahalaga, may katibayan na siya talaga yung pumirma ng informed consent. Because according to Attorney Frederick, merong mga cases na idinideny ng, nagkaroon ng cases, nagkasuhan na parang sinasabi niya na hindi naman talaga siya pumirma. Para ma-avoid yun, ay dapat mayroon kang proof na siya talaga yung pumirma. Kasi minsan daw yung iba ay dinideceive, parang merong deception yung pirma na hindi naman talaga siya yung pumirma. Parang ganon. So para makatipid ka, kaysa ipa-LBC mo lahat yan, habang pinipirmahan niya, magsi-selfie siya. Selfie siya, tapos pipirmahan niya. Tapos yung napirmahan niya, pipicturean niya rin yung buo, yung informed consent. So dalawang pictures ipapadala sa'yo, isang informed consent na pinirmahan niya, at saka isang picture habang pumipirma siya. Kung ayaw niya ng picture, pwede rin namang recorded video na nire-record niya yung sarili niya habang pinipirmahan niya. Basta mahalaga, ma-authenticate, ma-verify na siya talaga yung pumirma doon sa informed consent. Isa yun sa mga hinahanap sa defense, the validity and authenticity of the signature. Kasi ngayon, madali nang magnakaw ng scan signature eh. Mag-post ka lang ng example memo, tapos ikaw nakapirma doon, iscan lang yung signature mo doon. Tapos i-crop, ayun na, meron na silang scan signature mo. Pwede nang i-affix kung saan-saan yun. Diba?
Yes po. Opo, yes.
So, to avoid that, ganun ang pinapagawa. Pero kung marami kayong ipon, kasi malapit na ang Pasko, siguro marami na kayo na ipon, pwede namang ipa-LBC nyo isa-isa. Yung actual na informed consent, pero yung LBC may return to sender. Kayo magbabayad nun. Kasi syempre, kailangan namang pipirma na nga sila tapos sila pa magbabayad ng LBC. Eh kung mga 1,000 lang naman ng ang respondents mo, di times 100 na LBC, magkano lang yun? Eh di magkano yun, Errol?
100,000.
Kung marami kang pera. Pero kung maganda naman ang cellphone mo at malinaw naman, nakikita yung pagpipirma niya, ganun ka lang. Sanay naman kayo sa mga video call, yung mga gumaganyan-ganyan kayo eh. Kaya wala kayong magiging problem dun eh. Diba? So that's it. Pwede yun. O kaya naman, makipag-Zoom meeting ka, makipag video call ka, tapos habang nag-zoom kayo or video call, ask ka ng permission na i-re-record mo. O, so meron kang recorded copy na habang pumipirma siya. Tapos itago mo yun. Para pag dumating ang panahon na parang kakasuhan ka na hindi siya pumayag na maging respondents at violate
evidence.
May evidence ka sa korte. Kasi yan ang malaking issue ngayon na gusto ko maiwasan natin. Kasi ang data privacy bago lang eh. 2012 eh. Kaya karamihan sa inyo, I'm sure bago to mga dinidiscuss natin. Tama po ba?
Opo.
Yan. Kaya nga itong meron ako mga selected topics na specialized topics na talagang parang ginagawa kong webinar eh. Parang hindi ba sa lecture lang eh. Kaya nakipag-partner ako kay Sir Errol. Si Sir Errol kasi medical ang field niyan, nurse yan. So talagang makikita niya sa discussion niya sa nursing side talaga namang palaging may informed consent. Yan sa lahat ng gagawin sa'yo, dapat may informed consent. Ngayon, hindi lang sa medical field, pati sa atin. Pati sa ating nasa education field at research, dapat meron na ring informed consent. Nasagot ko ba yung tanong mo, Mr. Nuki?
Thank you very much. Opo, sir. Thank you very much po.
Nasagot ba ni Dr. Nuki ang tanong ni Mr. Nuki?
Yes po, sir.
Ang galing, may kapiliban dito. Sige.
Sir.
Sir, good morning po.
Good morning.
Arlene Encarnacion po.
Arlene Encarnacion, yes.
Yes po. Sir, question lang po. You said earlier po na do not involve the young ones. Tama po ba ang pagkakaintindi ko?
That
Ngayon
is
po,
right.
yung po mga bata, yung magiging respondents natin.
That is right.
Now, my problem, sir, is my thesis is about impact of school support in the athletic performance of the students. So, ang respondents ko po ay pupils or students athletes. So, yun po yung problem ko ngayon. Kung sasabi nyo lang po na do not involve them, paano po kaya yun?
Change the age of your student athletes.
High school po sana.
Meron bang mga mas
College? Wala po, sir eh.
Ano yung edad ng high school?
12 to 18.
Ayan,
17. 12 to 17. So, transfer po ako sa secondary po instead of elementary po.
The higher level, the better.
Yes po. Kasi nga po, ang dami kong problem sa thesis ko kasi pandemic, wala pong sports. So, magbe-base po ako doon sa descriptive method natin na pagre-research based on data po ako. So,
Documentary analysis.
yes po, yun, documentary po. So, yung sinabi niyo po before po. Okay po.
Yeah.
Thank you so much po.
Hindi pwede yung mga young ones. Kaya if you plan to involve me in your research, hindi ako pwede dyan.
Sige po. Opo.
Definitely,
Secondary po.
ng ethics pag ako yung sinama nyo sa research niyo.
Hingi po ako ng consent po from your parents po.
From the parents. Pag below 8, from my parents, as akin sila, pwede naman. Ibigay ko sa yung cementerio kung saan nakalibing yung parents.
Lago tayo dyan, sir. Sige po, sir. Thank you po.
Pero, yung mga under 18 mong respondents, ay kailangan na informed consent from the guardian yon.
Yes po.
Guardian ang kailangan pumirma.
Kagaya po nung sinabi niyo, sir, kanina na magpipicture sila if ever po wala pong ano. Pero kung mapupuntahan ko naman po sa bahay, pwede naman po.
Naku po, bawal nga po face to
Ay, bawal.
Nangyayari tayo niyan sa IATF. Baka tayo makasuhan. Oo.
Okay po. So, yung picture na lang po yung sinabi niyo kay sir earlier po.
Oo.
Okay po. Thank you po.
Ako, nagpapapunta ako sa bahay, dito sa bahay, doon sa mga naka-enroll sa seminar on research. May mga schedule ako. Pero by 10,
Yes po.
by
Sa 23 po kami.
Oo. Tapos, ang magiging setup natin dito sa bahay, meron kayong holding area. So, ang holding area nyo ay sa NLEX. Tapos pag kayo na, pupunta na kayo dito sa Malolo. Ganun,
Layo.
ganun kalayo. Kaya,
Layo nga po.
para maiwasan natin ang hindi. Meron akong area dito. Meron akong maliit na garden. Doon ko kayo muna pag-i-stayin habang naghihintay kayo. Pero di ko kayo papapasokin na sabay-sabay. Kasi
Yes po, sir.
uso ang pandemic. At saka ensure ninyo na before kayo pumunta dito, mga 1 week before pumunta, mag 2,000 milligrams ng vitamin C para talagang malakas ang resistensya.
Sige, sir.
Nasa pa po.
Kasi mag-1
Thank
naman
you po.
tayo, remember?
Opo nga po. Opo.
Checking ng chapters 1 and 2. So,
Yes po.
kailangan malakas ang pakiramdam.
Opo. Thank you so much po.
Welcome. Any more
Bali,
clarification?
sir, may nakahanda ng pagkain sa labas na. No?
May nakahanda.
Agree.
Ang usapan natin, 12 noon kayo darating kasi para nakapag-lunch na kayo. Kung gusto nyo naman, magdala kayo ng pagkain. Mag-set up ako ng table sa labas, doon kayo kumain sa labas. Pero wala na akong time magluto eh.
Okay po, sir.
Kung gusto niyo mag-picnic tayo rito,
Sir, McDo na lang, McDo.
patlock na lang.
Pwede rin po, sir.
O sige, basta wag niyo na ako paglutuin ha. Kasi pag checkin niyo na ako ng paper niyo, pag lulutuin niyo pa, sobrang abusan mo. Basta pwede kayo magdala ng pagkain. May table sa labas. Kaya lang walang upuan, nakatayo lang kayo habang kumakain. Tayo mo na. Sige. Any more question related to the topic?
Sir, halimbawa po, kinor sa division office po yung request. Sumulat siya sa division office. Tapos, pinadala lang po sa amin, pinapasagutan yung questionnaire. Pwede po ba yon?
Division office, tapos may questionnaire na kailangan may inform ko. Hanapan niyo, parang gagawin kayong respondent.
Yes po.
Hanapan niyo ng informed consent. Sabihin niyo, naku, matalino kami. Tinuro ka mo sa amin na kailangan pag-respondent may informed consent. Hindi kami basta sasagot nang hindi namin nababasa kung ano laman ng informed consent. Dapat alam niyo, diniscuss ko na yung laman, di ba kanina?
Opo, pwede namin tanggihan.
Hanapin niyo yun. Ay, kulang kayo sa ganito. Meron kayong line na kulang dito. I-check niyo.
Thank you po.
Kayo pa teacher nila sa research.
Thank you so much po, sir.
Welcome. Pwede kayo mag-say no. Pag pinilit kayo, unethical yun, violation po yun.
Thank you so much.
Walang pilitan, no. Kasi sabi ni Sir Errol, kapag pinilit daw baka magdugo. No, Sir Errol, ano? Pag hindi mo kaya, huwag mong pipilitin kasi baka punong-puno na yung utak mo, magdudugo yung utak mo kapag pipilit ng mga informations na pinapasok mo. Meron pa kayong tanong? It's already... Yes.
Saglit lang, sir. Sir, clarify ko lang po, meron na po bang nangyari na nagkasuhan? Kasi sir, di ba sabi niyo lagi niyo sinasabi baka makasuhan. Sir, may nangyari na bang ganon? Na may kinasuhan na teacher, or researcher, mga researchers, sir, na kinasuhan? Totoo na. May nangyayari po ba yun talaga?
May nangyari na. Bagong-bago lang. Kasi ang National Privacy Commission or NPC has launched the Data Privacy Act just last 2012. So kung 2020 ngayon, 8 years pa lang. So kung meron mang kasuhan, kumbaga very minimal pa lang, konti pa lang. Dahil nga, ang dissemination ay hindi pa ganun kaganda. Hindi pa siya widely disseminated. So therefore, marami pa rin nag-violate at marami pa rin hindi alam na nag-violate sila at marami pa rin hindi alam na sila ay na-violate na. Kaya nga sa 150 participants na nandito, sana mabago at makadagdag to sa kaalaman ninyo. Na you have the right to say no and you have to ensure that confidentiality is being taken care of. Pero syempre, ayoko namang mangyari pagdating ng panahon na yung dati kong estudyante ay nakakulong dahil sa Data Privacy Act violation. Kasi sampal naman sa akin yun na naging estudyante ko tapos hindi ko naturuan pala ng tamang paggawa ng research. O, wag naman sana. Pero dadalawin ko naman kayo kung nasaan naman kayo makukulong.
Thank you, sir.
Dadalaw. May pakape at saka biskuit.
Dadala ko kayo ng pongkan at saka ng mansanas. May tanong pa kayo?
Wala na po, sir.
Wala na po, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so I think that would be all. So for the next meeting, ang ating kay Sir Errol, may tanong kayo? Wala naman, ano? Na-explain niya naman na mabuti, no? So ang next topic natin next Saturday, check lang, text ko lang, message, check ko lang. Would be about, meron ba tayo next Saturday? October 24 is your research day.
Yes, sir. Sabi niyo po.
For MAED program. So for MAED program, it's going to be a research day. But for EDD program, meron po tayong klase. Kasi Dr. Reynaldo Cruz will be discussing the IMRAD format. IMRAD, ibig sabihin ito yung format kung paano nyo mapapublish yung research paper nyo. Along that line, of course, ang aking Zoom naman ay pwedeng mag-accommodate ng 300 to 500. Kung meron kayong mga kilala na gustong matuto ng IMRAD format, they are most welcome to attend. Also, for the MAED students, kahit sinabi ko na research day ninyo, kung may free time lang naman kayo, you are also invited to attend our IMRAD format discussion. Para matutunan nyo kung paano gumawa ng research using IMRAD or publishable research paper. No? For the MAED program, maliwanag po ba yun? MAED program, MAED students?
Yes,
Yes po, sir.
Yes po.
Hindi compulsory. Kung gusto nyo lang naman umattend. Para marinig nyo si Dr. Ray mag-discuss ng IMRAD. So, before we end, did you learn something from us? From Sir Errol and myself?
Yes po.
Yes po, sir.
Yes po, sir.
Yes po, sir.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
So much, Sir Emma.
Thank you po.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Maraming salamat
Thank you
po,
po,
Sir
sir.
Errol. Sir
From a
Alvin.
rating of, from a
Po,
rating,
sir.
Thank you po, sir. Thank you po.
from a rating of 1 to 10, 10 being the highest, 1 being the lowest. Ano rating niyo sa discussion?
Perfect score, sir.
Aba, perfect score. Okay.
Excellent po.
Ang galing po.
Aba, okay. Very good. Sige, yung nagsabi ng perfect score, may +1.
Wala? Perfect score.
Perfect score.
Lahat po ng grade nyo, +1, magiging 2.
Perfect score po, sir. 100.
Kung wala nang tanong, I'd like...
Sir, may tanong po.
Ay, may tanong ka. O, sige.
Sir, ano po, i-send po niyo yung yung inyong pong address para po sa October 23 sa ano po namin, sa checking ng
Actually, meron tayong GC ng Seminar on Research. So kung hindi pa kayo member ng GC, it's about time for you to join the GC Seminar on Research. Ano kayo doon? Mag-join kayo kasi...
Ayun, ba't nag-screen sharing? Ano yung dito kayo?
Bakit kayo ano yung sinishare nyo? Bakit
Please, sumama.
yan, ha? Pwede ko i-share ng bold dito, ha? Baka bigla kayo may ma-share dito. Baka bigla may pabas na news, ha? Bawal mag-share ng isa dito. Kaya lang, i-off ko na yung wait. Naka-off na, hindi na kayo makapag-share.
Tolan, screen share ka.
Kailangan last na, i-mute ko muna kayo, ha? Sasabihin ko.
Doc Alvin, may question po ako.
Wait lang po. Janet Bar. Ayan na. Okay. Sige, wait lang, ha? Wait lang po. Mute ko muna kayo lahat kasi sabay-sabay ng sasalita. Sige. Sino yung may tanong? Pwede nang mag-open ng audio.
Sir, hindi
Sir, hindi pa po ako nasagot.
Wait lang. Sagutin ko muna si Madam Bella Sanchez. Meron tayong GC. Kung may kaibigan ka na member na ng GC, magpa-add ka. Kasi pinost ko na po doon yung address ng bahay. Hindi ko kasi pwede i-post publicly yung address baka mamaya kung sino-sino mga pupunta rito Pinopost ko lang sa privately doon sa ating GC para sa one-on-one checking ng inyong proposal paper.
Okay po, sir.
Ha?
Salamat po.
And take note po, bring your own baon, ha? Wala po akong pagkain sa bahay. Dahil mag-one-on-one checking po ako, so wala na akong time mag-prepare ng food.
Opo. Sabi po kasi niyo, sir, ay kami munang uunahin mga taga Laguna.
Basta 12 noon tayo mag-uumpisa.
Okay po.
Para may time kayo bumiyahe. Sino
Okay po,
kanina nang tatanong? Si Madam Consuelo?
Salamat.
Opo, sir, hindi tatanong ko lang po kung yung pong time frame natin next week, same time po.
Next week sa ADD, ano tayo? 10. Anyway, magpo-post naman ako sa ano natin, sa page natin. Please be reminded na I will not miss informing you on our succeeding time and schedule. No?
Sige
And
po, thank you, sir.
No problem. And then, just in case lang naman, halimbawa, busy kayo ng Sabado, tapos gusto nyo magklase ng Sunday, pwede rin naman, just let me know. Optional yon. Pero kung gusto nyo Saturday, okay din naman na Saturday. But for this 24th, this coming Saturday, I already scheduled Dr. Ray to be one of the speakers, Dr. Reynaldo Cruz. No? So once again, the MAED group is invited to attend. You are invited. You are not required to attend, but you are invited. Okay? So, nag-ano na ba? Attendance picture, ano na ba? Gallery view? Picture ng gallery view para sa attendance. Again, do not flood our FB page. Ang posting po ay sa kanilang mga timeline, personal timeline. Katibayan po para pag hinanap kayo ng school, kung talagang kayo ay uma-attend, makikita sa timeline ninyo na kayo ay uma-attend ng klase. All right, so are you done with the picture taking of your laptops or cell phones?
Yes, sir.
Okay, kung wala nang tanong, it's lunchtime, it's already 12. Thank you so much for your kind listening and hope to see you again next time. Bye-bye. Bye, everyone.
Bye, Sen.
Bye,
Bye.
sir. Thank you po.
Thank you po, Doc.
Much po.
God bless po.
Thank you po. Thank you po, Doc. God bless po. Thank you
Sir,
po.
may
God bless,
klase
sir.
po
Thank you
tayo
po.
na after
Yes
yan.
po. Thank you po.
Thank you po. Thank you po.
Thank you po.
Sir Alvin,
Yes
Thank you
po.
po, Doc Rookie. Thank you po, sir.
Thank
may
thank you
pasok
po,
po
Doc.
mamaya kasi last time walang ano sa stat.
Ay, sa stat, meron naka-post sa FB page na activity ni Dr. Ray.
Apo.
Pero last week po wala po.
Wala. Ang naging usapan ng MAED, parang 1 month nilang gagawin yung activity sa statistics kasi busy daw ang mga DepEd teachers sa preparation
Yes, sir.
module. Kaya binigyan ko ng 1 month time to accomplish the activity.
Sige.
Kailan po papasa yun, sir? Exactly 1 month.